KT Rolster. SK Telecom T1. Beginning of the end.
Levers, you know, we go into these telecom wars and half the time we're like, KT has the form, KT can do this, but just something to prove. But the Gnar is going to be locked in. SKT not going to be able to get that Gnar Ryze combo that we've been seeing so much in the LCK, but certainly strong top lane and certainly strong blind pick coming out of Tara.
Stars and hard carrying games from mid.
I know, and we've seen it so many times on stream. I'm sure you guys from home have been watching it as well, but not going to be able to see it in the LCK, at least not for game number 1 here in our first telecom war.
No Zac ban, and it is the famous pick there for Blank, but he's considering going for what he's in form with. And look at this, they will settle on the return of his Nidalee. When he debuted on SKT's lineup in early 2016, Nidalee was one of the picks. They said they brought him in for his mechanical proficiency over then the other jungler, now of course the coach of SKT, Bengi. So Nidalee here is something he's really in form with. Like I said, 11-2 in his past 7 days, but already a very different look to Blank. He's obviously used his time in solo queue away from the professional scene, training up new picks.
Yeah, I do like the answer though.
Hey,
and KT,
look who it is.
Here we go. This is a look back to their old extraordinarily successful comps that they were running with the Galio, with the Caitlyn, moving around, taking down minion waves.
And it's what we saw just yesterday, you remember, the Rocks Tigers blind picking Galio. It's amazing that out of nowhere, no Galio priority a week ago into Galio blind picks. Any scaling matchup is strong against Galio. One of the ones that SKT used to default to is the Corki. But KT got so many of their wins through an invading jungle. You think of Kha'Zix and Galio, best friends forever. This is very much strong frontline and then AD threats. It's probably going to have to be the AP Galio that we saw yesterday from Lava, former SKT sub trainee Lava, who of course now is the mid laner of Rocks Tigers. He went Proto Belt into Liandry's, into Void Stuff, full AP, and just relying on the resists you get from W and the tankiness of Galio's kit. Could go full tank, but then there are some damage concerns. Surprising to see Galio. It feels like out of nowhere, but now Pawn's doing it. You think BDD is considering it as well. The Galio meta may be back upon us.
Yeah, and it was Pawn and BDD that really were our standout Galio players as well. I was going to mention that. KT made compositions like this look extraordinarily easy. It was with champions like Kha'Zix coming out of the jungle, things like that, champions that do have a little bit more damage behind them. The Sejuani is going to be different, but then Jace makes up for it on the top side of the map and is also a fantastic lane matchup. I like what KT have done, but once again, it's SKT knowing exactly what they want to do and then picking for that as well.
And the thing for KT is you like the draft. If it goes AP Galio, maybe there's enough damage from the Galio as well, but the caveat always is KT so rarely get all their chess pieces in order in the same game. In the same game where Smeb is popping off, Deft might be putting down a control ward, face checking and dying, they very rarely get everything together, but as a holistic draft, on paper, you love KT. On paper, you predict great things out of KT, but the paper gets ripped up more often than not. So let's see if they can actually put that theory to practice.
And once again, SKT look like they have a late game composition that could tear up KT Rolster as well. KT Rolster's going to have one of those early games that they've been known for having. The telecom war, ladies and gentlemen, is about to unfold. It's time to head to Summoner's Rift. Okay, we got a face check, guys. It's KT already using their flashes. Smeb's going to be taken down. And this is why sometimes you can't wait for the cheers, because there's people dying.
Yeah, score's already flashed. Smeb didn't use his flash, but went down. Fully out of context there. We also have the broadcast feeds. We have no idea what happened in the first 25 seconds of the game. We'll get a replay to you soon, but already out of nowhere, the plan starts to go awry. The early game starts to go awry as KT just tried to rush in. They W'd there. W start from Mata. They thought, okay, this will be fine. Let's back away. SKT were lying in wait. Not sort of brush that you see started on. You don't often see 4-man camps, but let's remember one of those old kind of adages of League of Legends. Not right at the start, not the don't chase singed adage, but Braum's level 1 Atlas. It's one of the most famous for a reason. You face check a Braum, you die. It wasn't Score, but it was Smeb. 400 games for Score, the 400th game. the big landmarks for Score so often are disappointing. Atlas, the finals, the 400th game. Let's see if he can rewrite history, but for now, not a great look for KT Rolster.
No, not feeling brilliant. Smeb is going with Summoner Airy here on the Jace this time around, and Tara getting into the lane nicely, and we'll see whether Smeb's going to be able to have the same level of performance that we saw out of Khan yesterday. Making his debut for 2018 was a terrifying thing to behold. Smeb now, see whether he can do the same.
You guys are wondering about the matchup. It is Jace's favorite matchup. It's one of those matchups where Gnar actually does smart. One of the standard counterpick matchups, like Gnar versus GP, Gnar versus Ornn, I've been seeing very commonly. But both sides know that. Untara knows it, that's why he's not starting an offensive item, he's going for Doran Shield. Both junglers know it. So there's always this kind of prisoner dilemma of, do you gank for it? Are you there for the counter gank? What are they expecting? What is he going to do? What is they going to do? A lot of rock, paper, scissors about situations like that. So no guarantees it's just going to be Smeb rolling his face over the keyboard and taking down Gnar. It's just what it is on paper.
Well, you can see Deft and Mata are certainly playing up. They're abusing the fact that this lane is ridiculously strong in the early levels.
I mean, it's a free Caitlyn lane, which is always a happy way, as Untara gets very aggressive with his level 3.
Yeah, heading into the Mega Gnar, and Smeb has to smack him away. That's a huge win. Blank's waiting around here at the same time, and I feel like if he could potentially land a spear, it could have been an opportunity, but Untara is going to get exhausted, head back to mini Gnar form and continue being frustrating, but this is not the sort of Jace versus Gnar that we've been led to expect.
The extra variable of the jungler being without flash, and Nidalee was already going to be battle warding anyway. Here we go.
Yeah, Arctic Assault having to be used by a Score to get himself out of the way, and Blank showing his prowess on the Nidalee that we've been waiting to see for a long time. Well, looking for Faker, but this follow-up damage is certainly something that you do not want to be seeing.
He's already through both potions as well. Faker knows his role. Scaling matchup. Starts with the Cull, looking for the farm only. Not a lot of threat from Galio without Sejuani helping, and now especially with Sejuani no flash, feeling great going the investment banker route.
Yep, you can see Pawn actually heading into the Resolve tree as well, so it's not going to be at least a rune page based on damage. We'll see what his build is going to show us, though.
Lava went both ways. Had a full tank Galio game, and then followed that up with the more offensive choice when he needed. You know, your first read on this comp is going to be low damage in the late game, physical damage only. Team comps are so hard to evaluate just because one side has Nidalee and the other side has Jace, so neither of those champions scream out for team fight.
Yeah, Tara taking a lot of damage, but Smeb as well really isn't being able to punish this Gnar the way that we've seen. A lot of it needs to go as credit to Untara, who has looked so good. Bottom side of the map continues to be a problem. Is this going to be a Zephyr Max Martyr? We know that he took it first, and we know that he's got Summoner Airy. This could be the incredibly toxic Janna we've been seeing in solo queue.
Doesn't have the Ignite this game, so you think it's probably going to be going for the E-Max.
The Storm Max, yeah.
And of course, in competitive play, the W-Max against anything other than 2 super melee champions would be very risky, but he's certainly going to be getting his gold generation on, just pushing up and using the W off cooldown.
So far, Deft farming out extraordinarily well. 15 CS ahead at 5 minutes into the game is nothing to scoff at.
Pushing in bot lane, expected. Caitlyn Janna, as you say, very good to lane. You get a free Janna lane because it's against the tank, so no pressure there. Also expecting the same sort of advantages early in the mid lane and also throughout the top lane matchup. We see Score coming around. This is very nice pathing from him.
Yeah, teleport comes in. The hop is going to be there, but he's running out of gap closes. The flash is still up. Untara's going to have to use it, but Permafrost comes in and Smeb just picks up the kill. Untara holds onto the flash the whole time.
He didn't really feel like he could get away. His Mega Gnar was kind of be the thing. He wanted to go for a crunch and then flash away. Couldn't get there. Makes the educated read that he would have died. So hard to really evaluate. All summoners were up by that point for Score and Smeb. If Score didn't have his flash up, maybe you go for the flash, but in the end, Untara decides he doesn't want to die to the return gank and just holds on to that ability.
Well, Marta's going to ward here. He's probably going to see Faker who moves down. Good movement there by Def to get out of the way of the Winter's Bite. Could have spelt his death. Cupcake being put down as Effort taking a lot of damage here. And in fact,
2v3.
2 versus 3, they're looking real good. Peacemaker's not looking very peaceful as Effort takes a whole bunch more damage. Faker below half, having to blow consumables. And Pawn's on his way down. Level 6 is there. Heroic entrance, certainly part of it. And that round of applause makes a whole lot of sense. KT this bottom side, what have these AD carries been eating for breakfast, Papa Smithy? They seem to be facing SKT and then looking like gods.
I mean, Caitlyn is basically eating Tristana, Braum, and even the Corki for breakfast, Atlas. And the reason for why Faker was still there, he went for a roam, largely to help SKT get a preferential back. They're getting crunched in the lane. So Tristana and Braum wanted to push in and recall. Corki was trying to help push the wave. But then you say 2v3, it's almost like 1.5 versus 3 because Janna doesn't have that much lane presence alone.
Yeah,
just
true.
the Caitlyn basically hitting back, stopping there from being a preferential back. Getting a preferential back after you're losing lane that hard is a pretty big win for SKT, but they were denied it even after investing the time of Faker.
And we need to sort of talk about Deft here as well and talk about the evolution of him as an AD carry, because originally, you know, when we were seeing him in the Samsung days, he was known as that player that played very reserved in the laning phase, then was extraordinarily good at positioning in team fights. And it almost feels like he's done a relative 360 on that note, because now, when he can play forward, Deft looks extraordinarily good, but can sometimes get a little bit overly optimistic with a lot of these plays. And right now you can see it's actually paying off brilliantly for KT because he's playing with reckless abandon, but getting away with it.
Beautiful metaphor for KT really as a whole, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. So rarely can all these players fire in the same game, and then you have players like Deft who've shown he can be a laning god, and we know he can be a teamfight god. But those data points of his teamfight prowess are a couple of games in 2017, some games in China, and then largely 2014, which now is 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So when it comes to individual players, Deft still has a very high tier list ranking. How good is he compared to the other AD carries? Like Teddy, for example, hard to say. His ability to teamfight and lane, I would say the laning is the more reliable point. He's also on Caitlyn versus Braum and a Tristana, so it is still expected what we're seeing in this lane.
Yeah, it's just that this style of play from him has certainly been one that he's been able to pick up. Ace in the hole going to fly out. Effort. Nails it.
Let's also note something. Interesting choice of rune here from Deft. He actually goes for Unsealed Spellbook, kind of a Sivir-esque approach of whatever happens in lane.
He is an inspiration fan, isn't he?
He is indeed. A lot of people are in solo queue and also in competitive play, but able to teleport back to lane and push is what he's doing here. Push, push, push style, and even with a stronger laning phase than Sivir, so that's definitely going to help that CS lead grow larger and larger.
Well, speaking of CS lead, there isn't one on the top side of the map, and Tara's been playing this one out extraordinarily well. Actually pulls ahead. Still getting the push advantage is Smeb, but otherwise, certainly hats off to Antara for being able to play this one nicely. Good warding. KT's jungle, just package has to be respected.
Smeb is building purely for lane. You look at the enemy team, and the first item that comes to your head is not Blade of the Ruined King, given that it's very, very squishy from the side of SKT, but Blade of the Ruined King into the Black Cleaver was the build we saw from Khan, and it just destroyed the Gnar. Feels like we're going to be comparing names like Khan, Cuvée, and also Smeb quite extensively, and given Smeb had some big misfires last time out. Let's watch Score, just chasing Ontara away, trying to actually help the top lane after kind of being a non-factor with his flash down earlier.
Yeah, of course, Smeb on the Jace, very, very good at taking down these turrets, so Score creating space here does make a lot of sense. Should actually get a fair bit of work done. Not sure what they'll be able to take down in this wave. But in the meantime, Blank's going to be able to grab Cloud Drake #1. SKT losing out on a little bit of the gold there, but the movement speed out of combat is certainly going to be handy, especially with these skirmish-type drafts that we're seeing out of both of these teams.
But isn't it lovely when both teams are playing to their vision? Top-bottom side was littered with control wards and control for the side of SKT. They take the Drake. All the warding for KT is on the top side. They take the outer turret, they let the gold go to Smeb, try to get him to his Blade of the Ruined King earlier, and giving up a Cloud Drake is certainly not a big cost. The thing about when this game opens up is, especially early with turrets down, KT gets scarier, because guess what? You invade, Galio responds first from the mid lane unless the package is there, and even then, no guarantee for the Corki, and you can make proactive plays with a Galio draft better than any other mid laner in the game. So this is the point where with a longer lane, actually getting red side control for SKT in the top side is going to be very tricky.
Yeah. One thing I do want to note as well is that Faker's package, in fact, timed out. He was trying to use it top and bottom, but KT, understanding the timings, had the vision there, had it all prepped. And it just feels like both of these teams, they're thinking about exactly what could go wrong and preparing each time. It's like a game of chess. Everything's being played a few turns ahead.
Feels like the chess is definitely favoring blue side here. almost got that second turret down, and every time Galio leaves, gets scary and scarier.
Yeah, speaking of scary, Def takes way too much damage, has to flash out of the way. Glacial Fissure not going to be in line as Blank turns up, heading to this 3v3.
Reading a little bit too much there, KT roll, so they thought, okay, 2 charges, 11 minutes, that'd be great, but Blank there, free damage, like you say, turning around the skirmish as Blank meets score.
Yep, teleport's going to be back up, remember, for Deft at the same time. So if he does go back, he teleports straight back to the turret, and it's not going to be that punishing circumstance that it potentially could have been. Because KT can get their 80 carry back here and continue that shove, now with a static shiv at the same time. So
push, push, push.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing with a build like this. Very much about PvE, pushing down the turrets, long lanes, Galio coming in with the hero's entrance. Very clear game plan from KT, but one that worked a treat for Rox Tigers just yesterday. So the fact that this is not completely new for KT means that SKT should be ready.
Well, Effort's in trouble. Blastcone's going to get him out of there, and they've now got a man advantage. Def gets over the wall, but Marta has to be careful. Heroic entrance on top of Score, and Marta's going to be able to pick up the kill. Bang! Seizes Death, and Smeb grabs the kill. Can we get KT moving up towards inner turrets now?
This is some real rookie mistakes from SKT. Effort, remember, is still there. No Wolf in this game. They walk up, they take trades. Tristana rocket jumps in against a Galio. It's always a mistake, Atlas, especially when you're not ahead in gold of any great degree. They thought, okay, we can delete Marta. He'd already used some of his abilities. They knew that the ultimate was down from the Janna, but too easy for KT Rolster. And now the problems of the side lanes start to get snowballed into Faker's lane.
Yeah, and I just feel like draft-wise, I know blue side certainly does have a little bit of favor when you're drafting. You can create the situation that you want, but playing on these sort of second-tier AD carries, Deft, I feel, just has so much more mastery on the likes of the Caitlyn, on these sort of B to C tier picks, and the specialization of Bang, like his Ezreal, legendary, his Sivir, fantastic, but if a lot of these get banned away, feels like KT have got the deeper pockets.
And also the level 1 misfire by Score and Smeb is not costing what is an early game priority draft. Jace into Gnar is a winning matchup. Galio clears faster than the Corki, even if he's not going to be able to really pressure him. And Caitlyn Janna needs no explanation when it comes to the Tristana lane. So despite that misfire, still able to return, still able to fire on the same cylinders, and then you add in an SKT over Pursue against a Galio hero's entrance. This is the result, as it should be. Advantage KT Rolster.
Yeah, Abyssal Mask now done for Pawn as well. He's got to his first item. We'll see whether it starts to be slightly more damage focused at this stage. You mentioned Lava's item build that he opted in for. It didn't look like this. Certainly Abyssal Mask does help if you decide to go for more of a magic penetration route.
A bit of a strange choice. It is because he's against Nidalee and Corki, so the magic resist getting a lot of value, but definitely not buffing up damage for anyone else on the team, short of a couple of cheeky Marta W's and some Sejuani damage. Yeah. Again, there's no need to go the damage route, except if the game slows down, you will be outscaled in terms of damage if you're KT.
Well, speaking of problems, we've got a Permafrost coming in here on top of Blank. Score still fighting as Ace in the Hole flies forward, which is rough. Oh, Faker sidestepping that one with a plum. Smeb needing to make his way out. Slightly awkward positioning here for the Jace, but will get his way around.
No chance of a flank. Galio is keeping Gnar occupied and topside. There's no Drake for them to fall back yet, but they are getting Drake control. 55 seconds for that to spawn. The only objective that SKT has picked up so far this game has been the Cloud Drake, and from now on it seems like going to be very difficult for them to actually power down another one.
Yeah, seems like a little bit of calm before an inevitable storm. Smeb spotting out some vision, so important in this matchup.
I love that Score also has taken, a page from Umti's book. He went fleet footwork. He was supposed to be proactive this game. He's run around the map, 3 assists, did not die, had to use his flash level 1. But the plan from KT everywhere. Galio mid lane, proactivity. Sejuani with fleet footwork, proactivity. Caitlyn Janna in lane against the tank support, proactivity. It is at the cost of late game. No Aftershock. Galio right now, very low damage build. But for now, it is also complete supremacy in the early to mid game.
We'll see whether some of these item spikes that are coming in are going to help SKT out, because Trinity Force is now done, and Tara opting in for a much safer build, picking up that Frozen Mallet instead of the Black Cleaver that we see so often, but he's going to be able to potentially give a little bit more in these team fights, having the added health and the added CC to try and set up some of these kills. And I actually really like it. When you don't have as much CC on Blank, try and go for as much CC as you possibly can.
It's also a very simple story of if he goes Black Cleaver, he gets instant killed by the Jace. He just powers him down. The stats aren't going to be relevant enough. So stacking slow and his teammate helping him out is all he can hope for. Is you can see Def's mindset very clearly.
Oh yeah, he is angry as hell. The kind of Def that you want to see. Hasn't had the best start to the season, especially up against Kramer. Really wasn't fun for KT fans in that first series of 2018. We were expecting KT to come out flying, and they were confident. Confidence bit them.
But isn't it fun that we have Afrika beating KT, and then Kingzone beating Afrika, and KSV looking a level above, while SKT trips down to Jin Air? We're having all sorts of scenarios where the top teams have not necessarily revealed themselves. We all have our suspicions. We all know the big names. But some of the teams that are unfancied are coming up big, and KT trying to get a 1-0 lead here. Even if they pick up the win, we know better than to give them the series. They still have never won a best of 3 or best of 5 as this roster. But you have to say, first 20 minutes, a big check mark, an A+.
Yep, feeling brilliant. Just over 3,000 gold is going to be the lead. KT looking at this Rift Herald, we'll see whether they do pick it up. Breaking open these inner turrets is more difficult, and having Shelly there available will certainly help them out. They've got the vision. They've put it down. Marta's been hanging out. But you can see the vision for SKT also fantastic, understanding that they need to understand the movements around the map on the top side. Going to start it off.
The tanks can take it relatively fast, so no real need for any of the damage dealers or wave clearers to get involved in triple control ward. Says, hey, this is our objective, and SKT obliged by trying to make things happen bot side.
Yep, Smeb dodging out of the way of some of these, but this turret is still at full health. The Shock Blast is going to say, get out of my lane, Faker.
Thought it EQ'd a wave clear, but that's not the Smeb way. He wants to show a bit of lane presence, and Italy had backed away.
All about sending a message, Pop Smithy.
Man, that control ward line is the god tier. 5 control wards all in the river, none of them clear. That's, you know, that SKT is scared, Atlas. They don't feel like they can walk up and clear any of that control vision. Beautiful stuff from KT Rolster, and for now, SKT are going to one wave, usually taking a buddy with them, so enacting the buddy system, and then backing away and saying, well, scaling is still a win condition for us. And KT so far pushing forward, very impressive.
Very impressively, and now they do have that Rift Herald that we were talking about, so we'll see which lane they are going to throw that one down in. Pings on the bottom side. You can see Smeb, a lot of wave clear to his name. 2 items now picked up. We're talking about item spikes on the side of SKT. Now it's 2 items for Def. This is an accelerated Caitlyn as well. So normally you're talking about item spikes when you're hitting about 3, when you're hitting 4, but when it comes at this fast a clip before 20 minutes on the Static Shiv and the Infinity Edge, that still feels brilliant. This mid inner turret under fire, Effort doing the best that he can. 2 supports that are actually pretty good in this game as far as saving turrets, but Effort not having a great time as he just tanks that one up. This explosive charge is going to do some work as teleports are now having to be used by KT.
There's a lot of meanwhiles that happening here. Bot lane, Jace and Sejuani throw down the Rift Herald, but no minion wave to support it means that Untara still has turret HP. We can't see exactly the value, but doesn't end up being a massive value use of the Rift Herald.
Can't be a whole lot, but you can see the group up here from SKT might actually bite them as there's the ultimate coming out from Score. In goes Pawn, picks it up all too easily. Faker actually uses the package to escape, and that means that they lose their support and lose the inner turret.
And you see Janna also just ulting for health, actually ulting to keep them healthy as they keep rotating around. We're past 20 minutes, maybe almost on the dot, but things like Baron become more and more realistic. Blade the Ruin King, 2-item Caitlyn means they do it at a pretty fast speed. They also return to mid lane. Faker's top lane, he's had enough of this. Doesn't feel like with a no front line they can do anything. The value of Infinity Edge Static Shiv is actually higher for KT than SKT because SKT are brittle. Nidalee, Braum, and Corki aren't going to be frontliners that can take autos, whereas there is the Sejuani Galio who can tank forever on the side of KT. We're going to watch the replay. Feels like another moment where Effort's rookie status is being taken advantage of. He walks too close into melee range. Why does he get auto-attacked by Score to allow this to start stacking up with the concussive blows? Unnecessary, but a bit of nerves, a bit of rookie status, and a bit of advantage to KT.
Yeah, KT looking brilliant. I sort of want to go back to the scaling point as well, Papa Smithy, because you can see in the item build coming out of Mata, he's building towards the Ardent Sensor. He's already being able to buff Deft with the Eye of the Storm, adding that extra BF sort of damage. So we're talking about, you know, Caitlyn needing to scale for longer, but does have these other options that are going to be there extraordinarily soon. Already the shield was available, so having the crit damage and having the extra attack speed, so great. And then he's going to get charged up even more when that Ardent Sensor does come in. This is a get behind the Caitlyn type composition with, like you say, that incredible front line.
And imagine the attack speed between 2 attack speed items and now largely an attack speed item in the Ardent Sensor. So it's a different take on the meta. We would have thought Redemption, right? You wouldn't even look once you saw a Forbidden Idol, but does look like, at least from the items, that it will be the Ardent Sensor in 2018. Cue the memes as we turn to the game. Also Fiendish Codex for Galio. Excited to see what that turns into.
Oh, yeah.
Bit on the AP side. You can't get away with just being purely tanky as a Galio.
Does have his timepiece, so it might be a Zhonya's Hourglass to start off having a little bit of that physical defense, whilst being able to go golden as often as possible. That feels a little bit more meta. We've got an Ardent Sensor and the stopwatches. Oh, feels brilliant. The perfect marriage.
Everyone's pushing up. Galio pushing Corki. Top side, Jace pressuring Gnar as expected.
A 1-3-1 though, once again. I mean, it was Jin Air making it work earlier on today. Now it's KT making it look pretty good.
Okay, but think back. KT played a lot of this style last year, but where did it go wrong, Atlas? It was always they took a risk too far. Someone was too headstrong, got caught, and then you back away.
This time of the game as well.
Exactly. It's not inked yet. It still is the hypothetical. KT often give chances to be caught as they transition between lanes. For now, though, they're being pretty smart.
Yeah, half the health on this turret as Effort takes a hell of a lot of damage. Needs to be careful. Bit of a boop there onto Bang, but not going to take too much, and Effort is just copping abuse left, right, and center.
It's a thankless job playing Braum against this comp, it should be noted, but I have to also mention the small mistakes that he's made that have been very unfortunate in SKT trying to get a foothold back in this game. And if KT don't offer mistakes, they keep methodically taking turret after turret, breaking the base, tricky. But backing off to Baron and knowing there's going to be no real vision from SKT, that is the calculated move when you're in a scenario like this.
Yeah, and we've spent a day, you know, in our last 2 games talking about not a lot of siege opportunities. KT have got a hell of a lot of siege opportunities. So they've got Monsoon to stand back and pick up all of their health again if they do get poked out, things like this. Like, SKT do have a lot of poke options, but it's not really going to be as helpful when Deft is going to be back at full health and then shooting from such a range, especially when that rapid fire cannon comes in.
Always holding your breath a bit in scenarios like this where Jace has to go pick up the minion wave and back away. There's still some advanced vision for SKT, so there was some chances of a big initiation coming through. It probably has to be in Tara, so their initiation is not gold standard by any means. They don't have non-committal engage like the Sejuani ultimate, so it's not that easy for them to actually force, which is another reason why playing 3 lanes is smart from KT. But KT, if they follow historic trends, always open chances. Go for an aggressive back, make some mistakes, don't necessarily dot all the I's and cross all the T's. But keep pushing forward, no mistakes yet. It leads to a gold lead of around 6,500 gold pre-25 minutes.
You can see SKT, I mean, this is what they do so well. It's being able to continue having the vision available and the information available to them as well. If there's an opportunity to come back in this game, if KT let up at all, you know that SKT is going to be able to punish. That hasn't changed. You could see they had full information that Deft was going back. They know that Baron is not going to be taken, and SKT have an opportunity to move forward, move that ward line further up. We often talk about, you know, especially in KSV games, these teams are able to suffocate their opponents. I don't think I've ever seen SKT successfully suffocated out of a mid-game.
Sort of thing where if it happens, you really do a double take and wonder if you're watching reality or fiction. Has happened a handful of times in years. Yeah. Once a year is kind of when you see that sort of play against SKT. But it's a new year, and it is an SKT that came in with lower expectations after the roster change, not necessarily impressing fans who wondered where was Marin, where were the other stars, trusting in the process the way that SKT went, and we don't know the full story of how that will go. Maybe this will be another new dawn for the side of SKT, but we're still early. Effort still needs time to find his confidence, to find his bearings. Blank finds Galio, and that's no fun.
No, especially not with this Zhonya's picked up. Another blasting rod there as well, so he's going for a void stuff. He's going to have some damage as Smeb needs to be very careful. His newly built Guardian Angel doesn't want to be procced as where are we going?
Well, smartly, Smeb went forward, which actually eluded the Corki.
Well, he's going to walk into them now as Antara and Fake are actually just really playing the do-si-do. They want to set up this sick flank, but are they too late? As SKT taking a lot of damage, they have moved themselves away. That flank option not quite there because just couldn't quite get into position in time. That was almost the stars aligning, but just not quite.
Yeah, no value from the ultimate there. The Glacial Prison from Score was used, but to no avail. The moment they knew there were 2 threats behind them, they're like, wait, there's only 3, let's go for it. The Score wasn't able to make the initiation stick. So Gnar is bot lane pushing out Mega Gnar now. We might see another attempt at an engage.
Yeah, Ingo's Score. Rocket Jump now on cooldown here for Bang, but they're able to get a lot of free damage onto this turret. You know, Deft does have that Ardent Sensor available to him. Effort once again getting abused underneath this turret. They've got the trap line. Bang, though, is making these spears hurt. So KT will have to back away.
Jace's on a ward in the mid lane. You won't know about that, but this is what we've seen the Monsoon used for in every other scenario. It's just a top-up. They want to continue with the pressure.
Yeah, charging back in. There's the Permafrost down onto Effort. Ingo's Pawn wants to find the Taunt onto as many members as possible. Goes golden with the Zhonyas as Ingo Smeb frontlining on the Jace because he's got the heroic entrance for the protection. They get 1 pick, and does this mean Baron?
I mean, it definitely seems to in the minds of KT. They're walking over a control ward, so it guarantees to SKT this is what's happening. You don't need advanced vision when you see that. No way for Effort to get there, but still going to be 4 damage dealers. So a risk here, teleporting onto a ward, but they're also able to spot.
Oh, Spooky Ghosts really paying dividends.
It gets chunked by a max range spear.
Zara has to be careful, but that Narbar is charging up. Faker gets chunked out, successfully escapes. Score taking a lot of damage on his way out. This is a game of cat and mouse, but this time you don't have Smeb flashing stupidly or anything like that. It's KT playing reserved, playing together, knowing that they can't bite off too much and more than they can chew.
Because they hadn't swept the ward, KT don't get an advantage from chunking out Effort. Effort dies, they don't return to the low health turret, they don't get Baron, they don't get further picks. Spotted there by the sweeping lens by Effort. They just want to kill him again.
Yep, the ultimate does come out. Pawn gets the Justice Punch at exactly the right time. Def just throwing attacks into this Braum, who survived for so long, doesn't get that last crit, and now SKT looking to follow up. They've chunked out these super tanks on the side of KT. Oh, it still just feels on such a knife's edge. You can see the gold so far in favor of KT, 7,000 or something of the like, but they're still playing so reserved, so scared of what SKT can do in these mid-games.
They're doing Baron with their junglers showing. SKT's not going to fall for this. Baron down to 6,000, but you do see that Pawn is very low.
Yep, and KT getting themselves into a 50-50 situation. They've been here before, and it has bitten them. They're not going to do it again. Marta looking to go back, wants to refill that Eye of the Watcher.
6,000 gold lead has kind of been the number for a while now. It's now not necessarily as big a deal as it was 10 minutes ago. Nothing has happened positive for KT outside of a single pick onto Effort, and they couldn't kill him again the second time, tanking enough with just 2 items, just with the Locket really being his big purchase after the Sightstone. So they back away. They don't necessarily over-pursue, but you need to keep growing your gold lead. We have to remind the viewers of this. BBQ thought they were in an unlosable position against BBQ in match 2 yesterday, and then was taken down the late game by double 80 carry. The double 80 carry is adding on item after item. Every back they add to their core, they get closer to 6 items, and a 6-item team fight, you look to SKT to likely win it.
And you can see that Deft actually agrees with you, Papa Smithy. He doesn't want this game to go too much longer. He's got the GA to make sure that the next team fight, he's going to be able to jump back up again. He's going to survive. He's not going to get picked. They're looking for these traps. They're looking for the bait and switch play. Unbreakable, of course, going to eat that ultimate.
I mean, it's not easy to actually use the initiation they have. Sejuani can be QSS'd or can be dodged, and Sejuani needs to be there as a conduit to Galio to initiate. It's really only Sejuani to enable the hero's entrance to be offensive. You're not expecting any sort of actual initiation from SKT. So advancing their position after the easy objectives, which here represent a 6-0 turret lead. A lot of the gold is the 6 turrets to 0. Is difficult because Effort and the rest of SKT are not dying to 4 Caitlyn auto attacks like they were earlier in the game.
Yeah. It's just a frightening situation. You know that SKT capable of taking these games long. The ultimate comes in. Effort, though, Unbreakable's there. Should be able to survive this one out. And Pawn not going to be able to find any taunts. Score chunked again. Does have the Warmogs. Will be able to keep himself alive. He's going to slowly but surely get him all the way back up to full health. And the pings once again onto the Baron.
If you're SKT right now, the rallying call start. We're in a better spot. We've managed to bring it back. That's what they'll be saying. Something like a Baron rewrites that. We see the Baron started here. They see Deft. They put 2 and 2 together. Cannot complete the Baron. It's turn on to Deft.
Yeah, heroic entrance is going to be there, though. Blank jumps all the way forward, but he's going to be taken out. That's the jungler. And KT now feels so much better taking this big purple monster.
And that's why you go for the Guardian Angel. You didn't notice a flash or a heal coming out. They were happy to power it down. All right, Score, the smite's escaped you before. You need to hit it here.
This would be one hell of a steal if they do it without the smite, but he's going to be able to get it. Score in his 400th game, locks down the Baron. They kill Effort again. Buster Shot should be the disengage that SKT were looking for, but a teleport's going to come in on Tara. He's running for the hills, but he's not running to his inhibitor turrets that should be taking a shellacking now with the newly invented Baron on the side of KT. The base is broken.
How much will KT try to take here? They won't try to end the game. Death time is still very long, but they can get 2 inhibitors at a minimum.
Oh, yeah. That's the teleport back as well for Smeb. He had his Guardian Angel for quite some time. Tara, Mega Gnar is going to be here. Score might be taking a little bit too much damage. KT probably wanting to get themselves out now, but they successfully will do so. What a brilliant engagement, using the tasty, tasty 80 carry over the wall to bait them in.
And the best engagement is one that doesn't actually require you to hit a skill shot. In the end, like you say, Deft looked too damn tasty for the side of SKT. This is after the fact. We're going to watch the replay. The smite, just enough. Level 14 there, enough to secure it at 729. Good stuff there. Score needed to pull that one off. That went away. The hearts would have definitely taken a couple of notches lower if you were KT Rolster, but what we missed there was Deft with his Relic Shield upgraded. Had the shield there with the Guardian Angel. For once, SKT thought they had the drop. They thought they saw what now feels like the trademark KT overextension. It was turned around on them. And now KT is even just a couple of picks, not even a team fight, but a couple of picks away from just ending the game.
And so interesting here. You can see Deft immediately sells the GA and picks up the Mercurial Scimitar. Still wants to hold on to that Relic Shield for the sustain.
You know what the best thing about that is? The GA was a confident, let's end the game soon. Selling the GA is a more confident, let's end the game before I even would have value out of the GA.
Yeah. Just genius. It's like they had that play sort of in the playbook. Sitting backstage and saying, like, look, we've got these options, these options, these options.
They got a turret that's already pretty low. That's an easy option.
Oh, hell yeah. Take that one down. The last remaining inhibitor now under fire. SKT on the ropes. It's exactly what Jin Air were feeling. The end of that gigantic game that we witnessed a few nights earlier.
All right, 3 waves of super minions propped up by another minute of Baron. Should happen here. They have Caitlyn. Should be straightforward. Let's see if KT can end.
Yep, Redemption comes in. Marta goes back up to basically full health. Deft is tanking up the turret. He wants to keep his minions alive by the looks of things. And these Nexus turrets not long for the world now. An exposed Nexus. XKT on the ropes. A game number 1 that KT have done in the past. Nexus is under fire, but it's the battle that we're looking at. Deft picks up one. We've got low health bars, and Smeb's just fighting Faker. The flash comes in. The minions are going to be enough, and the Nexus falls. KT, 9-1. Dominant early game, dominant mid game, and had all of the plays prepared this time. Nothing going to their head.
I mean, KT Rolster rolled the dice, but they rolled high. They needed 2 6s. They got pretty damn close. Atlas in the early game with this Galio, who wasn't going full AP. They saw what the Rocks Tigers did yesterday, and maybe they even had the strategy earlier, because they once again said, what got us those wins last year? It was proactivity. It was the Galio papering over any mistakes you make with the hero's entrance, allowing them to rotate first. And Nidalee basically spent the entire game watching from the brush as action happened around her. The Nidalee draft was exploited by the last rotation Galio on blue side, and it feels like the Galio now needs to be respected by any of those old offenders that played it when it was out of whack last year. SKT surprised by KT Rolster, but I'm surprised that KT were largely pretty clean in this game, Atlas.
Yeah.
The one time it looked like one of those classic KT mistakes, it was Deft just saying, I have Guardian Angel, a Galio, and the confidence of my Janna. We'll turn it around. And turn it around they did.
Just stunning. I mean, most of the time you see those situations, and I don't blame you. If you're sitting there at home and you're like, oh no, Deft is shooting over the wall. He's not going to be able to net himself into the pit in time.
Right?
Spotted by the spooky ghosts that come round the corner. And as a KT fan, we're used to this. But guys, we are going to go to a short break. When we get back, game number 2 of the Telecom War. Welcome back, OGN Legion, to Seoul East Stadium. It is game number 2 time between KT and SKT. But let's have a look back. Def did a bit of damage in game 1, and it was a get behind the Caitlyn composition. They certainly got behind the Caitlyn.
That was one of the ye old 48+% team damage Deft performances, but he was set up for it, like you say, Atlas. It was all about Caitlyn with all the shields, an Ardent Sensor, a blast from the past in 2018, even from the Janna. They had one mind, but Deft performed, as did KT Rolsa, and that's in spite of a level 1 brain explosion by Smeb and Score.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. From there, it was a Cloud Drake away from a perfect game post the level 1 shenanigans. So, great stuff from KT Rolsa. We know better than to anoint anyone the winners of the Telecom War until that 3rd and final Nexus falls. Seems to always go 3 games. 2 would be a surprise. Your MVP, predictably, is Deft. PvE League of Legends. Teleport very early back with the unsealed spellbook, and only one mind to explode those turrets.
And the unsealed spellbook opens so many doors as well for keeping the pressure on with this Caitlyn in the early game. Deft moves up to equal 2nd position alongside Raze and Ambition.
Good luck catching Teddy.
Yeah, well, exactly. And you're the guy that you get behind every single game.
It does feel like unsealed spellbook is now one of the few ways to actually innovate between Champion Select and the game starting. Counter picks, you know, there's that extra time to adjust your rune page and make some more changes. But whether you take Unsealed Spellbook or not just changes everything. You know, the first person that took it was Prey on the Sivir, and now it's standard on Sivir. But on Caitlyn, it's a new thing, and it seemed to surprise the flow of the bot lane for SKT. Bang and Effort never got into any sort of rhythm. I'm very interested to see whether we'll see Wolf actually sub into the support role. If you look at his solo queue account, it's almost exclusively jungle, but we of course know he has so many hundreds of competitive games on the support role. They should be able to get there comfortably. But where's the mind space at? Who's playing jungle? Who's playing support? It seems like the SKT game of musical chairs will continue to turn.
And I absolutely love this. What we were watching just then, where it went from that Baron pick-off attempt onto Deft to the end of the game, because that basically was the play that gave it to KT. And yes, there are a few kills. Yes, it was getting behind Deft and watching him do all of the damage, but it was that orchestrated moment that really is the clincher of what that game 1 was, because of what we know. And this music tells us that there will be a sub. See whether it is the predictable Wolf's going to come in somewhere sub, or whether it is going to be Tal making his way in, and it is. So Antara hopping out of the top lane, Tal moves in.
And sadly, what that means confidence-wise for SKT and Antara is, well, we gave you your Gnar and you couldn't find a victory. 3 victories and no losses previous, now 3-1. Tal played in the 94-minute Fiesta against Jinair, looked decent, but didn't look better than Antara on the Gnar. His name, Tuhal in Hangul, means to lock in Trundle, known as a very prominent Trundle player. If you look in solo queue, he's playing the GP, he's playing the Vladimir, he's even got a pocket Nasus that he breaks out in some specific ways we'll talk about if we actually see those criteria open up in the draft. But man, think about who's in this roster. We have to take a step back and appreciate it is a best of 3, but in game 2, potentially the ending game of this best of 3, they're fielding Effort, a 17-year-old, 2-month substitute AD, support that seems to be their support, and now their substitute top laner. There's very little experience short of Faker and specifically Bang, but also Blank to a degree on the side of SKT.
But Blank hasn't often been the starter. We were going over it, you know, it was always Peanut that started for SKT when they were successful against KT. Earlier on, it's not Blank doing the download. Now we're going to head into game 2 and he's going to change it all. It's a different SKT this time around. But Tal, will he be able to offer what we think he might be able to with these change-up of picks?
SKT on the blue side now, still not dealing with any of this Cogmore nonsense from Deft.
Yep, no more shenanigans. We'll see whether the AD carry slot is going to be looked at heavily by both of these teams, but no Sejuani first pick, says KT.
Yeah, there's an unbelievable amount of AD carry bans in the first round. You know, sometimes we see them kind of snowball into the second round if no AD carries are taken, but it was just AD carry ban after AD carry ban. It allowed KT to first pick the Sejuani, and level 1 Gaff aside was very strong for KT with the Fleet Footwork Sejuani, a different style from Score. So we're going to be seeing those AD carry bans, and you got to love the wry smile from the usually pretty quiet Deft.
And if we can all remember, you know, back when Deft was in China, the classic pastry time deft what the heck moment where he picked up a pentakill.
On Sivir.
On Sivir, exactly. I mean, there was relevance to my story.
That was Game 5 of the series against LGD. Very, very famous game that Pastry Time and I cast many moons ago. Now we leave that particular region. I find myself here in Korea, and I find myself in 2018 seeing a Galio ban.
Yep, Galio ban against Pawn. Wasn't really a way that SKT could find to punish it. You have to admit, the gank combination of Nidalee and Corki isn't a lot of CC, so they didn't really have too many options to lock down the tanky monster.
Okay.
But speaking of monsters, Tahm Kench to take the final ban slot.
Let's talk about what's left up. Kalista is left up, a very famous pick for Bang.
Yeah.
But also Varus is left up, so you see Tahm Kench banned away. Varus Braum is almost 100% going to be the lock on red side. It almost feels like if we do see the Kalista locked in and Bang is having second thoughts, we could see Kalista Thresh versus the Braum and the Varus. It feels like we already know the bot lane matchup, but does also mean other prized picks are left open. KT, they take the Rise very early.
Yeah, and of course, no opportunities to pick up any other AD carries, not going to be able to deny Deft, so there's the support position that's being considered here for KT. Marta pretty vocal. You can see he's not actually giggling looking at this Leona pickup. Could actually be something that they're serious about.
Interesting they're going to hold the Braum. They're actually going to take the Varus and look for more information.
Yeah,
will that information mean the long-delayed debut of Faker on Zoe is available in the first round, will probably be banned in the second round? Will we finally see it, Atlas? Faker had a good game, but unfortunately his teammates couldn't hold up to his end of the bargain. Oh, Faker draft here.
The Azir is another option.
Sure.
Was going to say it, now it's insta-locked for Faker. We've seen what he's done when he is Rise against the Azir, but we've seen Azirs be able to poke out the Rise as well if they're not at that level of play. This is going to be one hell of a matchup because Pawn's been playing Rise forever as well.
And it's also a pick that recently feels Rise favored in the Azir matchup because of the ability to skip over the Rod of Ages and go for the more Abyssal Mask, the more tanky side of the equation. Could just be lane bully status. Yep, is confirmed lane bully status for Smeb here on the Gnar. So interesting to see what Tal's pick will be on the blue side, given that his only competitive game so far, at least in the LCK, has been on Gnar.
Yeah, a bit of a no-brainer. We talk about the Rise Gnar in almost every single matchup because it seems to be pretty prioritized.
Should also talk about Tal a little bit, given that a lot of people are tuning in for this match.
Yeah.
Was, of course, son of Kasing in EU solo queue, played on Red Bulls. Same team that Kasing played on in the Challenger Series. Looked like a carry, but predictably with these young Korean players going overseas, never really got the communication issues out of the way. So while he has some spotty experience, certainly not telecom war fire experience like he'll need here. So a big ask for him. See the Camille banned away. That's actually a flex pick for SKT. Even recently, we've seen Blank play a lot of the Camille jungle. Nidalee Camille were his two biggest picks in the jungle role. Rengar was the next one. So very well could see the Rengar from SKT.
Kha'Zix, another option here as well. Score, of course, lifetime, phenomenal Kha'Zix player. 77% win rate, something like that, sitting on about a 5.6 KDA on the champion of all time across 22 games. Two of those games this season, though, Papa Smithy, and they were both losses.
We did see the Alistar for a moment. Soraka would again be a crazy one. You don't really see too much backline threat short of the ultimate from Kalista at this point, but let's see if there's fishing for information. We've seen a lot of mind games so far from the side of KT. A Soraka would be surprising. The Alistar would be classic Marta.
Absolutely, and this is what I wanted in game number one. I wanted every game that I see any of these supports that have been known for their Alistar play. We were treated to Gorilla earlier. We were treated to Wraith as well in the series before.
It's unsealed.
Oh, we're going to have double Spellbook bottom lane, most likely.
We have double AP too, if it's going to be the Vladimir lock-in here. Vladimir does not win the matchup against Gnar in any significant way. We only have one game of recent evidence, but it was actually the Gnar making the winning side of the matchup. Spectre's Cal into Black Cleaver, and a long enough lane, you can actually, with Hyper, burst down, well, burst is a strong word, but take down a Vladimir.
Oh, I really like this. If this is where Blank is going to go on the J4, his last performance didn't actually die on the champion, is one of those tanky frontline threats, can build really strong, but also has the presence in the early game. The other option obviously was the Zac, decides not to go for it.
And Zac could be the final pick here for KT if they feel good enough about the lanes. The question is, can they afford to go for a Zac or a Shyvana, which would be another choice that's possible. The lanes are strong from KT, but Drafting Shyvana in pro play is still pretty unexplored. We know the power of the champion in solo queue when you can go for a red smite and kill people with the press the attack, but it's probably going to have to be a bit more measured from Score, and he looks at the lanes and feels strong enough to go for the Shyvana. Still a risk, though. Interesting drafts here from KT and SKT, as seems like we're going to have a little bit of a delay, maybe a remake coming through here of the lobby, but we know the champions, so all the information is out there for you, OGN Legion.
Got absolutely everything, do not worry. Looked like Deft and Mata were potentially unable to swap their champions around.
Getting the confirmation from Joel that there will be a remake. The lobby froze, so it seems like no one's getting a penalty. I guess we should mention, because of what we saw earlier in the week, actually last week, Crown disconnecting from the lobby early, that was deemed intentional, and KSV actually drew a penalty from that. So that means if they do anything like show up to the studio late or anything else that incurs a penalty, they'll actually lose a match point. In this case, it's deemed a bug, so from what we understand, there will be no penalty laid to either the feet of KT or SKT.
Yeah. Does mean that we've got a little bit more time to talk about this draft as well, Papa Smithy.
I love it.
Having Score on the Shyvana, I do actually have his stats up here, so I haven't actually seen much of his Shyvana, and in fact, I have never seen it in pro play because no one's ever seen it in pro play, Papa Smithy.
I'll be able to double check that on my stats database, but sounds right. Shyvana jungle, you know, was a thing. You think back to what, season 2, right?
Yeah.
When Gambit Gaming was running around.
Moscow 5.
Then Moscow 5. Shyvana top also a thing, and Shyvana's been so edge of the meta and basically a non-factor, but kind of Score's entire lifetime as a jungler. Only debuted as a jungler in 2015. And it does sound right that it'll be his first visit on the champion. Definitely low lane impact, but they feel good about Ryze versus Azir. They actually feel surprisingly good about Nara against Vladimir, because it seems like that matchup is either equal or maybe even slightly Nara favored, and the laning phase in bot lane is not going to be too much of a headache on paper. The on paper worked for KT in game 1. We don't know the reliability of it. Bang getting his little battle yawn out of the way for now, but the fire will certainly hit the rift soon.
And also getting the pep talk from Coma as well. You often see him over at Bang's chair, just making sure that he gets in the mindset, and I understand it because this is not one of those games where Bang is sitting on one of those lower tier champions. Bang has been known to be an extraordinary Kalista player, and this is one of those times where he is given all of the power. We've got the coveted picks. The Varus, extraordinarily high up there with his abuse of the Rage Blade, and Kalista certainly being looked at as one of those at the same time. We're looking much closer to getting into the game.
Bang is 30-4 in his career. 30 wins, 4 losses on Kalista. Was undefeated for his first 25-plus games. It's been a pick for him, but recently he's prioritized things like Ezreal above it. Ezreal not available here. Lot of intriguing matchups. On paper, it seems like KT should be happy, and the Shyvana mid to late game, only Spirit has really unlocked. Game 2 of a telecom war. We've never had a 2-0 for KT with their current lineup since the start of 2017. They've never even won a best-of series, Atlas.
And this roster hasn't even got a 2-0 at all either way in this matchup. We're always going to game 3, so we'll see whether it happens again, ladies and gentlemen, as we head to the Rift for game 2. Oof. SKT fans certainly showing up. We're in a packed Soli Stadium right here, Papa Smithy. Everyone wanting to check out the telecom war.
Yeah, whether they're first or last, the KT and SKT fans will always come to deem who is the victor between these two famous companies. If you're new to the telecom war, KT and SKT are the two primary mobile phone carriers here, so Verizon versus AT&T. If you're an American, you understand that this is definitely high stakes. These teams are both very well supported, very well paid, superstars everywhere. But SKT...
And also for Australians, of course, Optus versus Telstra. You know, we got to help them out.
Where were you on the side of Optus versus Telstra?
Well, I mean, custom support-wise, it's all about Optus. But as far as coverage, you have to go with Telstra.
I'm just saying, which side were you on?
Telstra.
There you go. I was a Telstra man too. I guess we're biased.
Yeah, there we go. But we're not biased when it comes to SKT versus KT. Both of us, KT Internet, and we have SKT telephone service. So
I was stipulated by Riot Games, so we had to do that. Just kidding.
If only. That would have been going a little bit too deep. That is going to be the red buff leash, though, coming out for SKT.
The man on your screen a moment ago, that man Blank that you're mentioning, is kind of the game breaker here, because we're saying, oh, all the lanes look pretty good, and we know how scary Shyvana is if she shows up with a Devourer and a Frozen Mallet without too much action happening. The lanes are looking decent. Outside of a moment of brilliance from a man like Faker, it feels like the jungler is that great unknown variable that always messes up the scientific equation that is team comps on paper. So let's see what things Blank can make happen. He was a bit of a voyeur, just kind of watching on as KT dominated at Game 1. Needs to be more active in Game 2 to give his team something to work with.
Well, Pawn hits level 2. You can see already Faker is dominating this lane. We had a feeling that maybe he'd be able to navigate this early game quite well because he knows the other side of the matchup so exquisitely. 4 games already on the rise so far in the LCK. We haven't seen a lot of Faker's Azir, though. Of course, haven't seen it this season, and of course was out of the meta in the last season. Has historically played it to such great effect, but it's been a while.
It was a pretty big meme back when Azir was really center of the meta, which I'm thinking back to 2015, that, you know, Faker wasn't even the best Azir on his team. Back when
there was a certain Hoon,
Easy Hoon, one of his small effective champion pool, was the Azir, but the thing about Faker's Azir that people miss is that actually, when you look at his win rate on the champion, predictably in a team that's done well, he's actually always been very capable on it. And if he didn't have the single champion mastery that necessarily Easy Hoon had, he was always impressive in his own right on the Azir. So certainly someone who can play-make. They have a lot of playmaking options now for SKT. Even if you see Vladimir come in from the flank to 10% damage amp on a beautiful Azir sec play, might be enough to just ravage KT. So no guarantees, even with the draft. Looking pretty good for KT Rolster.
Well, speaking of looking pretty good, SKT are able to look and see that the Gromp hasn't been taken just yet. You can see Score heading back down, grabbing the Wolves before picking that one up. And they will have eyes on the Shyvana.
Ana doesn't go for Unsealed Spellbook, so we'll not be going for what seems like the flavor of the month rune onto the Alistar that was made famous by Ming over in the LPL. This has Ignite, so certainly has a lot of all-in power with the Aftershock proc and Ignite. And maybe just wants to prey upon effort and surprise him with early damage.
See, thankfully Bang wearing his own skin on the Kalista.
At least someone on SKT will use their own skin.
Yeah, exactly. Faker disappointing us every single time.
Certainly won't be using Easy Hoon's Azir skin.
Although that would have been the best troll. The man that never uses a skin when it's not even his for his team. Perfect. Doesn't quite have that sense of humor, though.
Only take delight in winning.
Yeah.
Which is usually the mark of a real champion. And like you say, he's in luck. He's won a lot.
He certainly has. Not as much recently, though. Wants to get back to that point. Saw a big smile on his face, actually, before game number 1. Pawn able to throw a bit of harassment on top of him, though. Teleport going to be utilized. Blank heading back. The Unsealed Spellbook allowing Pawn to stay in this lane quite well. And a decent back timing with the tier picked up alongside the Ruby Crystal, so we'll be a little bit more healthy.
Abyssal Mask heavily expected here to be able to just withstand the lane, and then Shyvana has good magic damage, a little bit of hyper from the Gnar, but also Varus is heavily expected to go for the Rage Blade and have his own magic damage as well, so a lot of value from the Abyssal Mask passive, along with the laning stats it'll give him.
Abuse onto Pawn here in the mid lane, as you can see. Headbutt Pulve lands down onto Bang, Unbreakable a little bit late to block that hail of arrows.
Seems like Deft is just Unsealed Spellbook on every AD carry. Found a new favorite rune.
I think so.
It's already been more successful than his attempt at a new summoner in the Teleport Jace he tried.
Well, exactly. I was about to mention that one as well. That was a long time ago, digging back into the history books, but that was an abundantly clear misplay.
If we're going to go through the history books to find things to praise, we have to also go through the history books and laugh a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't spoken about Mata and his support options, and we'll save that if we get some extra downtime, because that one's a little bit more of a storied history. But so far, the bottom lane, not as explosive, certainly not as one-sided as we saw in game number 1, which is a good news story for SKT. The more even these lanes are, the better it is for Blank on this J4, because the Shyvana not going to be doing a lot of work ganking early.
If it just keeps going even, if no one's dying, still pretty good times for KT as Mata takes too much free damage.
Yeah.
Again, Ceteris Paribus or other things being equal, Shyvana getting a free jungling phase to just farm up. Doesn't have a farm leader, but camping a little bit behind. But Shyvana just getting a free jungle, press the attack, heavily expecting Score to go Frozen Mount second. If 2-item Shyvana isn't punished, and short of Jarvan's CC, you just can't really emulate the teamfight damage and presence of a Shyvana.
Yeah, it feels like a top laner, to be honest. Half the time, you'll do more damage than your top laner, unless it's something like a Jace, and probably should do more than Smith. Some of these teamfights. But we'll also see a lot more priority on that Dragon as well. Getting those permanent stacks, making sure Scores as powered up as possible, see whether he heads down there. He's level 6, Blank also level 6.
It's just nice to see KT responding in draft, because there was definitely a long time in spring especially where KT knew how to draft strong for their style, right? They knew what a winning KT comp would look like, but sometimes they were a bit tone deaf for what the enemy was running. I think of the Talon top when they kind of over-pursued on win lane, win game, and no other way to take down a team like SKT. This time, they see strong lanes, and there is the latitude for a Zac or a Shyvana without just losing lanes and then the Shyvana getting invading and never getting going. So for a time to pick Shyvana, it's a pretty good one. Whether Shyvana will be effective or not, that much is still to be decided.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have the Blood Razor, so it finishes off the recurve bow. It's finally ahead in farm as Blank is going to hand over this blue buff. Blue spawning a little bit later here for KT as Pawn could potentially teleport back, but actually decides not to. Utilizes the fact that Faker had to go and collect his blue. Doesn't actually shove the wave, and so Pawn with that summoner spell available, meaning that KT do have global options here in the earlier stages of the game.
Blank's pathing through mid lane isn't spotted by the control ward that was placed. Pawn's actually playing towards the area that Faker has vision supremacy.
Yeah, but he is going to get shoved back. Pawn uses his stopwatch and gets under the turret. That was swift thinking from Pawn.
Even brings the minion wave back. Feels good,
Yeah.
man. As Score, if he's face-checked, can actually do insane damage to Blank, but he's just waiting. Lying in wait.
Oh, Sand Soldier putting in there.
That was so heads up by Faker. That's the one area that wasn't being scouted by Blank, and he even gives him coverage there. So smart move from the mid laner. No surprise for Faker.
Piercing arrow coming in. You can see Deft here has actually got a stopwatch as well. Stopwatches are plenty on the bottom side of the map, apart from effort. He's decided not to go for it.
Now, they do have the earlier push. They're happy to push in. Smite.
Oh, look at that Score. So much better. You get that auto attack reset. He can pick up the smites like nobody's business.
I mean, on this day, 2 out of 2 reward, but the fact that Score is smiting it and gets almost no value from blue buff is
probably not
still a win for SKT.
Didn't want to go into that, Smithy. You got to shout out.
We don't
Score
tell
whenever
half stories over here. No half truths, only full truths here, Atlas. We're Mythbusters.
It's his 401st game.
Just keep the fake news away, please.
Okay, Blank's going to clear out some vision. SKT understanding that having vision available around the dragon is certainly a good idea when there is a dragon on the enemy team.
Lore appropriate. Nice control ward on the enemy red buff. They're hoping won't be scouted. Gives them ideas of which quadrant. And look at that. Look at these 2 wards. I love the control ward on the red buff. They have vision of the Raptors and also vision. Basically, there's no entrance for Score to enter his own jungle and not be spotted. So wherever Jarvan is, he'll have a very good idea of knowing which side of the jungle that Score is on. And now that he doesn't see them on any of the wards, he should probably feel that maybe even some of his own camps are going to be at risk.
Yeah, Score actually making his way over through the vision as well, which is useful. You can see so much forward vision effort.
The blue
also
ping,
adding
that's really cool. So the blue ping was actually onto the Rift Herald because one of the few places they can't see. So now where Score is, he's ruining the jungle. Blank.
Actually denies that Little Wolf. Haven't seen a lot of denial recently.
And it's the famous Moscow 5 skin as well.
Yeah.
That was the one that both Darian and also Diamond Prox were using.
I liked the bone one a little bit more. Of course, both of them looking brilliant. Okay, Rune Prison down on a Faker, but it is Pawn that's taking the poor end of this trade. And they were right, to a certain extent, Papa Smithy, because it will be Score taking the Rift Herald after destroying the jungle, like you mentioned, of Blank. There's Tal, Smeb going so aggressive.
It's one of those matchups where I think people have misread how Vladimir does this, but it's fine, but not great.
Oh, don't want to face check Score.
Yep, press the attack. You guys are wondering why Shyvana's so prized. she's the best and really only user in competitive play of Press the Attack. The ability to instantly proc it means the damage jungler that brings almost no CC can auto-Q, and then every bit of damage from burnout and everything after that is proccing the extra 12% damage that Press the Attack gives you. People thought it would be Press the Attack Vayne, but how many trades are actually 6 to 9 auto attacks in lane? Almost none. One is Shyvana, instant proc into the rest of her kit, doing huge damage, means that Press the Attack works very well for her.
Yeah, and now gonna do a whole bunch of work taking down this Rift Herald as well, because Blood Raise is completed. You can see Score's damage has sort of exploded at this stage. Once you grab that first jungle item, and you were talking about having to deny the Shyvana, they will deny her the first Cloud Drake of the game. So it will be the more valuable, I guess, overall objective in the Rift Herald, but Cloud Drake going to be picked up and the Dragon denied. KT?
You definitely feel good denying Drakes away from a Shyvana. Lose that 5 armor and magic resist for every kill, but, you know, Rift Herald is definitely more prized than a single Cloud Drake, and it's going to be Ocean next, so KT are actually going to be afforded the latitude to maybe play away from the Dragon and not necessarily just play bottom side. There's no mountains or infernals to occupy their mind.
Oh, Mata making his way in. Of course, Mata and Gorilla probably most known for their abilities to get around the map on Alistar. Sort of share that particular characteristic. Mata using it a little bit more to get vision down, because that's, of course, his MO, but both of them certainly knowing where to be at the right time.
I mean, we sat here.
Himself out.
Yeah, we sat here pre-game and we looked at Mata's champions he's played so far this season, Braum, Tahm Kench, and Taric, and both of us said, would love to see a playmaker from him. You know,
yeah.
Mata, of course, can play disengaged support, but made his name on Alistar and Thresh especially, so really nice to see him on a champion with engage options after so far just being a disengage god. As vision has been good from SKT. They know which side of the jungle that the Shyvana is on, but the camp respawn timers would have told them that, and now they don't have the same sort of coverage on the top side. So apart from knowing where he started, Shyvana's fast, Shyvana's going to keep roaming, and they no longer have tabs on Score.
Yeah, feels like KT have made it through this early game extraordinarily well. 200 gold is the lead here for KT Rolster. SKT not punishing it. Of course, they do have a composition that scales beautifully well. Think about the AoE potential of this comp. You add Hemoplague, amplifying all damage that's coming in. Bang's going to be sticking his little sticks into multiple people after that 2-item spike comes in with the Hurricane. And then you've got Faker, Sand Soldiers. They're just happy to stab in directions, Pub Smithy. They'll do damage to everyone.
It does feel like Faker holds all the trump cards. 2 consistent damage threats between the Azir and Kalista. And honestly, Vladimir, once he gets 5 points into Tides of Blood, also falls in that category. A lot of consistent damage, but also, you know, the chance for Kalista just to be blown away by a dive from Shyvana. So Faker's use of the Emperor's Divide, I think, will be the really big treat in team fights. He can deny a lot of what KT's setting up, short of, say, a huge flank coming through from Smeb. He kind of has the tools to carry a game, which is always scary. It's why something like Azir fits him like a glove, because of the carry potential. There's no guarantees about any of that.
The thing that I'm excited about is what KT is going to do around Baron towards the mid to late game. Looking at about 10 minutes from now, you can see Rift Herald is going to be flying forward, but we're still at only 15 minutes into the game, because Realm Walk plus Shyvana plus Deft on this attack speed based, potentially Blade of the Ruin King building Varus is an option, but the Cataclysm goes down on the bottom side. Deft is in trouble. We've got Unbreakable Will. Deft holds onto the flash and the heal for a long time. Mata, he's going to get out, but he doesn't have the ult anymore. That's 4 members of SKT. Mata will waste their time, exactly. But 4 will be able to grab it. But look at Smeb and Score. They'll take 2 turrets in trade for this.
Yeah, I don't know if Tol should have actually teleported out of this lane, because it guarantees that 2 turrets would go down. It was very telegraphed by SKT. Put down the deep ward, the summer special that we saw basically every game of LCK Summer. But losing 2 turrets in an instant, Atlas, this is the sort of game where that is actually going to be a double whammy, because whenever you have an extremely long lane, 2 turrets down in a side lane this early against Ryze, the Ryze push-up vision into Realm onto Baron becomes possible.
Well, Bond's actually looking for Faker. Emperor's Divide comes in, but here's the cavalry. Dragon's Descent flies forward. The flash after Faker. The Realm Walk to make sure that we've got a Rune Prison available. Flashes on top. Good double knockup from Blank, but it's all too late.
Very nice chase by KT. They knew their limits. They wanted to kill that MVP from the side of SKT. He's down. They push up Vision. No Baron to take too early in the game, but KT control the map again.
This is really scary if you're an SKT fan. KT are playing like they know exactly what their comp needs to do.
Yeah, chasing the Jarvan out of the jungle as they rotate members around. This is beautiful macro from KT. They get an advantage. They kill the Azir. The Emperor of Shurima is in the death chamber. They also chase out the jungler. No one's going to be slowing down this turret take. Third of the game for KT.
Yep, and Smeb shoved up that top lane means that he can now lie in wait, gatekeep on this bottom side. We've got a minute before the Ocean Drake comes up. Will then mean that 2 minutes after that, the Baron will be in contention. And Pawn, he's even going to be able to get out when Blank finds him shopping.
Sleeping Giants, both KT and SKT after 2 games. We weren't sure about the strength of either.
Yeah.
We still are not 100% convinced by KT. There's been too many KT moments in their first 2 sets to really believe in KT, to get excited about KT.
Oh, you even quoted it. I quoted it last time we saw them, but I feel like you're right. There's got to be a time when saying you're excited is okay.
The thing about KT here is that there really hasn't been the KT-esque mistake. This has been 1.5 games where they have looked more calculated, where they haven't made obvious one-man mistakes. We haven't seen all 5 of them fire, but we haven't seen any of them misfire. And for KT Rolster fans, that's at least a building block towards the high expectations they want to grow for this 5-man lineup.
Yep. The rush of blood to the head that we're just so used to expecting has not come in. SKT now lying in wait, trying to get that Cataclysm Hemo Plague Emperor's Divide combo working out for them, but none of the bait is being taken.
Free vision clearing is not there for Blank. That's why Blank's not going to try and clear that control ward. He saw the Alistair and backed away.
Yep, we got the wave being shoved out here from Smeb on the bottom side of the map. Both of these outer turrets have been taken, so that's a long lead that can be prepped by one of these top laners or anyone that can make their way down there.
Note that even though they have extensive control ward vision forward that's starting to be cleared in SKT's red side jungle, post 20 minutes, they're going to move all that vision to the blue side jungle and try that Realm Walk Baron. Baron can really be the icing on the cake for KT, but because they're only 18 minutes in, second Drake of the game would be nice.
Yep. Oh, well, Marta's going to be able to get in here. Dragon's Descent comes down, so score. Massive in the front line. Good disengage from SKT. There's a lot of buttons are being pressed, so no Glacial Fissure available, and bang, doesn't have his ultimate either.
Draw out the ultimate from Shyvana, who already hit her items very early, so Dragon not being available is another teamfight tool that KT are denied. Now SKT are going to keep cutting between threatening the mid lane and threatening this Drake, and they know that at least one big tool, and even the Varus ultimate as well,
Deft
are down.
Oh, that was almost the Deft special with a potential face check. A lot of vision being available here as Deft standing in the back line, SKT regrouping. The thing that I absolutely love about this, Papa Smithy, if we do have an opportunity to talk about it, is the fact that if SKT try to deny this Dragon, it's going to be so easy for that Realm Warp to be used and the Baron to be obliterated by KT, if they have the correct vision and the correct information on the side of KT.
Really big fight for effort. He desperately wants vision. That crevice towards. They see Rise on the top side as well. That means SKT know it's a 5v4 for now.
Yep, they're looking to start up this Dragon, but look at what Smeb's able to do. Able to buy some space. Oh, the flash, not quite enough. Emperor's Divide will mean that Pawn's going to be in trouble. No more stopwatch, no more opportunities. Hemo Plague locks down Deft, and this is the SKT that we've been waiting to wake up. They grab the 2 picks, and this could mean Baron.
Yeah, they're going to definitely turn on to the Baron. Score is still alive, but with no flash, does have the ultimate available. They're turning on to that objective, waiting for that KT mistake. We see it there. They were spread too thin, trying too many different ideas for a flank. See Shyvana actually going to be trading Ocean for the Baron. Not a great trade, but they believe in SKT's ability to deny. Free Baron to SK Telecom T1.
That's incredibly impressive. SKT waiting patiently. We were talking about KT as far as having the options. Wasn't the case. KT walked into their trap, and of course, it's the man in the mid lane for SKT that set it all up. The Emperor's Divide, even a flash couldn't get Pawn out of the way.
So remember that Rise was seen topside, went into mid. They collapse on Rise. Shyvana's out of position. Nara's out of position. They're around the Drake. There's no way for them to get there. Pawn is too far advanced, and Faker's killer instinct kicks in, and then unfortunately Varus is trained down. The Alistair's caught with ultimate, doesn't matter, dies as well. It wasn't a huge invitation like we've seen from KT in the past, or even in their past 2 best-of-3s, but a big enough one anyway for the best player of all time to turn around this game.
Yeah. Now, what are SKT going to be able to use this Baron for is the question. Blank now is going to be clearing out some vision, but looks like a 1-2-1 setup with Blank floating seems to be some sort of the option.
Does allow them to get the map control. They've kind of been denied ever since they took the downward trade and gave up the 2 turrets in the top lane. Doesn't mean that they have to respect effort, though, as Smeb's going to keep walking up.
Yeah, Bang is going to be here, so maybe a little bit, but oh, this could be the face check. In trouble. Thankfully, the blast cone's there. Faker starts the onslaught of the turrets. Second one to go down for SKT this series.
Definitely not going to be an inhibitor breaking Baron, but it's going to be a map control and also turret equalizing Baron. All that SKT is looking for. They needed that Baron desperately. The foothold back in the game. Now they're looking stronger. We saw Blank having coverage for Faker taking the top lane turret. Hasn't been able to get near it because of all previous damage in the top lane, and mid lane's also going to go down.
Yep. Should be an easy outer ring being taken. Not sure whether they're going to be able to definitely grab these inner turrets, but Faker looking to try and get some poke damage down. Def gets out of the way of most of it as Score's trying to clear out what remains of his jungle.
So much threat onto Def. Remember, no flash Def, no flash pawn. And a Zircek play from Faker to just ice 2 kills if he gets the right time.
Yeah. You can see Pawn actually sold his broken stopwatch as well, so no Zhonya's to be coming from that particular Fiendish Codex. Slow onto Score as well. It's really hard to get on top, but the Ghost is actually drawn out, but that does spell the end of the inner turret in the mid lane.
Yeah, big Baron buff power play when it comes to gold. Will not break the base, but the next time Teamfight victory happens, inhibitors go down, KT fall behind further. Such a big tempo swing we've seen in this game. Items looking strong as well. 2 items on Kalista and Azir. Both of them continue to power up. Vladimir also showing good presence in the bot side after being able to get into the backline in the last fight. The reality of going for a no-escape carry against Vladimir is that someone can get the flank. The one time Vladimir does, able to assassinate Deft. And now KT Rolls can make no more mistakes. Maybe they've already made one mistake too many.
That's what it feels like, Papa Smithy. Have to say that moment felt incredibly pivotal for SKT, and slowly but surely, Bang is getting to the point where he is going to be a complete monster. We were talking about Faker. It was about him in that play earlier, but what that's done is set up Bang for almost easy success as we move towards the later stages of the game. 1-0-2, but has those 2 items that you need and the QSS that Kalistas absolutely love. He's in a great spot.
Yeah, SKT's teamfight is much more of a known quantity than KT. KT needs to have a moment of brilliance, catch someone unawares to really pull off a true 5v5. If a fight just starts with Score jumping in, Azir, Kalista, Vladimir can play front to back and obliterate a front line very, very well. Best way to deal with SKT is to kite out the damage or find a pick, as we might have seen a pick here.
Yep, teleport does come in. Good flash, gets out of the way of the headbutt for Blank. They do get to summon a spell as Bang. He's going to turn up. Deft's here as well, though, so Smeb, he's not in any trouble, but Thal doesn't have teleport. He's got the Ghost on the bottom side with his spellbook, and he's going to look to push this one out. Means that KT has the man advantage, but not the confidence to try and take on SKT.
Yeah, the man advantage doesn't mean anything when you've only blown 1 flash. That's on the Jarvan, who can still face check and flag and drag away. And always back and get the teleport, swap it out for Ghost, such the flexibility of the unsealed spellbook. We just returned to normalcy. Another objective piles up for SKT. They now have a 6,000 gold lead.
Getting very scary if you're a KT fan. The early game looked so good. KT trying something new, giving Score all of the space, making sure that the lanes are able to control themselves. That one moment, that one juggle around the Baron to the Dragon. SKT just playing together better as a unit. Faker turning it on. Haven't seen too much from him the last few minutes. It's been about 6. But when will the next play happen? Will it be KT looking for desperation, or will it be SKT just tearing down turrets like it looks like they're doing right now? No Smeb available, no teleport for him either, and 4 of them just watch as the turret falls down. There's a Cataclysm as Blank. The stopwatch is used, but he's in turret range. In goes Bang, and he's getting 3 shots. Score is going to be the first one down there under the turret. The 2-man Empress Divide, and these will be all of those rounds. Baron stats being torn out. Pawn's going to fall. It's a triple kill for the Kalista, but Smeb is massive. Gets a brilliant wallop on top of Bang, but is it going to be enough? I don't think so. I think the base is still going to be broken.
Faker just overwhelms everyone. They see a time. Nara's not there. They dive it, and it works. Atlas, they're able to secure the kills. Can they actually end the game? 15 seconds on to score. First thought is no, but still, it feels like that's the last dagger through the heart needed to take down KT Rolster and force a game 3.
Yep, I feel like Smeb may have just saved them from losing the game right there. However, still looking so dire. And Blank, this almost looked like a ridiculous engagement, but it all pays off.
Yeah, he has the stopwatch. Toll has the ability to ghost down and then just turn it on. Smeb is in Mininar. They see that little bit of information. Smeb in the mid lane with Mininar. Ghost is popped. Faker goes in. Easy cleanup here on the side of SKT, and even a great 3-man nut doesn't matter when there's no men behind you to capitalize on.
Yeah, and that was exactly what we were talking about as far as the Wombo combo that they have available to them. SKT is going to deny yet another dragon, as it was at least the Ocean going to KT, but it's all bad news otherwise. And Hemoplague on to 4 members, and then all of them smashed down with the Emperor's Divide. Meanwhile, Bang able to get all of the work done that he wants to. 4-1 and 4 now. 8 out of 9 kill contribution. His Kalista should never go to him, ever.
It's been a team performance. He's the only person short of 100% kill participation. It's 90% or above.
That's true.
For the entire team. Team performance required as scores all alone.
Yep. 401 isn't exactly the best game for Score thus far. He's going to finally use the stopwatch and gets a little bit angry. You can understand why. He's going to the death chamber. 4 versus 5 as SKT follow some super creeps towards the enemy base.
Really good stuff from KT. Reminds me of Kingzone yesterday, being able to turn it on the moment they got even a sniff of an opportunity. Smart is left all alone as SKT want even more than just the cow.
Yeah, Unbreakable Will's looking real breakable at this point, Papa Smithy. And it's just kill after kill. And SKT know that when they're given an inch, they know exactly what to do. Smeb on the wrong side of this situation. Already the backs are coming in, but this will cost them an inhibitor. We've got super creeps on the Nexus. Bang actually wanting to get Nexus turret damage. This will be all of the inhibitors going down. Looks like game number 3. It felt inevitable because every time we see this iteration of KT versus SKT, it goes the distance apart from the spring final.
The insane thing is, Atlas, that we've had all the best of 3s, 2 best of 5s, and yet there's only ever been 1 game that didn't go 3 games because the spring final was a 3-0.
Yep.
It was only the reverse sweep from SKT that did not go 3 games. Went the full 5 that time as SKT turned on to Baron, and sorry KT, you're not going anywhere near it.
Nope. We're going to get our money's worth. That's the brilliant part. Selling tickets to the Telecom War is pretty easy because you know you're going to get all of those games. History has certainly taught us that one. And if there's any night where you want to be at work a little bit longer, it's certainly a night like tonight.
Game 3 will be KT on blue side. And so far the series has gone blue side focus. How much of this game was Bang being back on Kalista? Certainly helped with their initiation. To me, the game was more decided by KT actually opening the door and SKT still being that high-class team to take advantage out of a mistake. In every iteration, through every lineup, that has been an SKT standby. Maybe they're in the early game, they fall behind. Maybe they actually don't have the tempo at the start of the mid game, but ever give them a chance and they will put you to bed. That's what they've done for KT in game 2. Feels like whatever happens this game, we're all but ready to ink the win for SKT and that mouth-watering game 3.
Oh yeah. We'll remember that KT get to move back to the blue side, which has been somewhat of a power play. Got a ghost coming out somewhere. That was actually flashed from MÁADA used. Pawn having to use the ghost. Still able to move pretty quickly, but now it's that suffocation. It's that full power SKT knocking on your door. Super creeps, Baron buff, everything that they could possibly need. 2 minutes remaining of that purple aura. And MÁADA's just getting chunked. He will have to use the ultimate if he wants to try and start anything. Def getting some decent damage, but he doesn't have the items that he had in the last game, and these turrets are getting smashed down. Blank jumps his way forward. Def has to deal with that. Both turrets removed. Smeb's going to get destroyed. Score easily follows. Pawn trying to get damage down where he can, but Tal isn't even going to die. It's a triple kill for the god of the mid lane, and now they'll take down the Nexus. SKT will let it go the distance. It's a quadra in the end, and the king is back.
You never write the story of the telecom war until the match is over. After game 1, KT looked oh so good. The game 2 start was also good for KT, and then the same SKT, the specter of the team that are 3-time world champions, came back, they powered them over, and suddenly it's a best of 1 for all the marbles, for the momentum in the second week of the season. It's crazy to think that after a spring season last year, this is the final fixture of the first round robin. It's the second fixture, the third fixture I should say, for both teams, and we are no closer to knowing who will come away with it. KT, just like in all those previous times, had a game 1 strategy that SKT had not scouted. The game 2, they tried something that did not work. The game 3 is really where the money is made. It's crunch time for KT and SKT. And I just can't wait to get to picks and bans and see what new stuff these teams have to serve up.
And I feel like as well, it tends to be Coma just having that genius moment, knowing exactly how to design a game 3 that SKT are going to win. This time, will it be a different story? It's 2018, it's a different beast. And KT, especially if we get the same KT from game number 1, which was reserved, controlled, but aggressive when they could be. This could be a different story. We could be rewriting history in our first telecom war of the year. We will have one more break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. The telecom war will conclude. Welcome back, OGN Legion. And look at it. It's another Telecom War, another 3-game series. And it was all about that man in the mid lane, Faker, proving that he is the god of Summoner's Rift yet again. A god piloting an Emperor, Papa Smithy. Can you really lose?
It's law appropriate, and it also fits the tone of basically every time since 2014 that we've seen KT and SKT, and specifically every time we've seen Pawn versus Faker, is that Faker has looked better. Game 1 was not about the mid lane. Game 2 was vintage Faker. That is why he will almost certainly pick up the MVP for his streamer shuffle plays and also for his general brilliance. And he helped SKT force a Game 3. All the marbles being decided by just a single best-of-1.
And it all feels like the marbles are being decided by a single play in both of these games. It will, of course, be that man in the mid lane. You mentioned kill participation for the whole team. Was certainly Faker able to come out on top. And a 15 KDA on top of that is damn good, and it's great to see him picking up the MVP points.
Flash too late there from Pawn. Thought he could flash away from the streamer. Actually, the Emperor's Divide, he could not notice that. Actually, it is the presence of mind from Faker on the Azir, famous Cassin rune, but we see it on the Talia. We see it now also on the Azir. If one kill comes rolling, that means that Azir is going to be full mana the entire team fight. You see it there. Spells are free. He's free to go in. Needs no blue buff to ruin the day of KT Rolster in Game 2. That's why it's so exciting that we get to go to a Game 3. I'm already ready for the Champ Select. Let's revel in the greatness of Faker for another month.
Yeah, and also shout-outs to Tal as well, who was able to do phenomenal things on the Vladimir. Pretty sure he still didn't die at the very end of that game. He didn't have the greatest of Gnar performances, which is more of an Antara champion, but certainly hopping over to the Vlad, a champion that you mentioned played a lot. He's played a lot of in solo queue. Looked real good, setting up man in the mid lane, get the work done.
Let's see if there's any more roster swaps, because there still could be a change up, but SKT won, so perhaps we'll just be seeing the same 10 players hit the Rift, waiting to see the confirmation here. OGN's very good about not showing too much information.
Well,
it's looking the same. I spy with my little eyes. Effort is playing this game, so that was to be expected.
Yep, the other sort of option is looking over into the KT booth, but you can see there's Score still sitting there, so I'm sorry, guys. Kind guys finish last. That's just how it works.
That's right. No rush this time for the first Telecom War. Maybe second time up. He'll have been able to get himself a starting spot. No Wolf this time in the support role or in the jungle. Tal also will be remaining in the top lane. Telecom War goes 3 games. It is always the way here ever since the start of 2017. KT versus SKT starts again.
Yep. Blue side now for KT needs to be mentioned. A lot of power in having those priority bans, not being forced into banning all of the hyper carries that you don't want to see.
You've seen a lot of 80 carry bans so far, and SKT have banned Kog'Maw on blue and red side, not prioritizing or allowing Deft to go that way, even though Deft recently hasn't been playing that in competitive play. If you look at the bans, Game 1 is Rise, Vayne, and Sivir taken away on blue side, and Kog'Maw, Kalista, Ezreal on the red side. So let's see how many more these 80 carries be banned away. This is a first-round Sivir ban from KT.
I feel like KT are angling themselves for their own Kalista pickup. Deft, of course, was known for it. If Azir gets banned here, you know exactly what KT want. Trading the Ezreal for the Kalista would be the option.
I think SKT, if given the choice, will kind of leave open one rather than ban one away. So we'll see what KT want to do. Are they going to opt into trying to trade up? Final ban here could be Azir, like you mentioned, but it's going to be the Zoe.
Whoa,
so just do not want to see a first Zoe in competitive play. Doesn't mean the Azir, like you say, is still left available, and it's going to be a Galio ban to stop that being the KT strategy again.
Ezreal traded for Kalista could be an option, with KT locking in the Azir if they don't want SKT to pick it up, but no. Deft going to be getting his hands on a coveted pick for him. We speak about Bang playing the Ezreal all the time. We were talking about Teddy, and he was doing ridiculous things on the champion. Deft has been a phenomenal Ezreal player since he started playing League of Legends.
But it's not a trade you feel bad about if you're SKT. Getting the Kalista basically for free is not a bad thing. 31-4 now is the career record. But Bang on that Kalista. And they're going to drop the Vladimir very early. Faker's been playing this in solo queue, and we know already that Tal has been playing it a lot too.
I'm excited, Pop Smithy.
Why is that?
In China, Pawn played a hell of a lot of Ezreal mid.
We're not going to see Ezreal mid here. I guess, that would be pretty insane, but I know you're hoping for the Kalista here, and then the surprise, the wool over the eyes for SKT, but I think we're more likely to see a mid lane Vladimir than we are to see a mid lane Ezreal.
I know, but
I know that's not a big thing to say, but...
If you can't get excited, you got to get excited about picks. And this is a good option here for Pawn. Deny that Azir. Deny exactly the same top side of the map combination from SKT as well by taking this one. 2-0
on Azir this season. So it's been a good recent pick for Pawn. Denial, like you say. And no Rise to muddy the works. The famous Faker champion. Rise and Zoe. 2 bans towards Faker this game.
Now he's at the Braum.
Yeah, the Braum would have been possible, but they're going to take Tahm Kench over it, even though Tahm Kench against specifically the Vladimir doesn't offer the most. So it's going to look for the denial of pick power, and SKT, last option to take the Kalista. We'll just lock it in here.
I actually love that as well, because KT can now freely ban away the Braum, ban away anything that they don't want, and they knew that the Kalista had to be locked in. There was no other real option here for SKT.
I wonder what the 2 bans would be. I guess Braum and also the Taric might be the choice here. Alistair left open just because you're worried about the Taric teamfight comp that you can already see threatened here. 2-item Kalista plus a Taric ultimate probably means a teamfight win against basically any team. So we'll see if it's a double ban of support, but it's Kalista, so Kalista Rakan, Kalista Alistair, those are both very famous duos.
There's certainly options. Kalista Thresh, another one as well. Not entirely familiar with what Effort wants to go towards if he's building for Kalista. It looked great on the Braum. They could just opt for that. But the Malzahar is going to be the one taken away here. Faker going to see a bit of the priority in the ban list. Already 3 bans against him from KT. And theoretically, them banning themselves out with a couple of flex picks.
Still a real chance we do see the Vladimir flex to mid lane. Especially if we keep going in on the mid lane champion pool.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see what the final ban is. Will it be the Braum, or will it just be double ban of mid lane? Waiting to see what is decided here. They're going to ban the Xerath. Definitely not a champion that Faker's found a lot of success on, but it is, on paper, a very good matchup into the Azir.
The doesn't always outrange.
Yes, exactly. The Shurima mid lane, where you get your Lost Chapter, a Neil Sarge Rod item, and you start to really kind of dictate to the Azir, so they're trying to provide as much coverage as possible, and SKT smartly will wait till last pick to decide what to do with the Vladimir. On the blue side here for KT, still could be a last pick Kassadin, you should remember, as a option against the Azir. Risky, but certainly possible for Faker.
Smeb, feels like it could be a game where the Gnar could be locked in again, or we could be seeing scores Jungle Jacks once again. Looked pretty good the last time we spotted it.
Was a big trend in solo queue ever since it was debuted by Malrung last year. Still a chance it could be top lane, but heavily expected to be a Jungle Jax. Waiting to see what the top lane choice into what they assume is Vladimir. They're probably going to think of safety. Something like Ornn could be considered, but Maokai also very, very flexible. They don't go for the Ornn because the Braum has been selected, so I like that. They're like, all right, we're not 100% sure. We can't go for the sort of lane that can be counterpicked. Maokai does well against basically everything, so safety first from KT.
Yeah, the GP was left available though. Smeb not opting in for that one. Of course, historically, Pawn in Telecom Wars past has played that champion as well. But if Ornn gets a free lane, that feels pretty damn good. And Effort is going to lock that one away for Tal on the top side.
Maokai gets a free lane. He will also be able to come in and guarantee some initiation. So super initiation from both the Maokai and the Ornn in the top side. Small chance that score flexes the Maokai to jungle, but whenever we've seen that attempted in Korea, it hasn't worked. So most likely going to be the Jungle Jax that Score has already played. Didn't really feel like Faker would get frisky and go for the Vladimir. It's a big popular pick in solo queue, even if it's been kind of top lane Vladimir only in the LCK. So teamfight comp from SKT. KT Rolster have good initiation and teamfight options as well. Whenever you see the Ezreal here, you really want to see him to get snowballed to make this draft work. And another look at the Jungle Jax. That seems like a Korea-only special at the moment.
Yeah, brilliance in SKT is the fact that they got to see what the matchup was, right? And then they could switch over to the Ornn, make up their decisions later. Seemed like the top lane wasn't going to be a place that was going to be under a lot of pressure, so easily able to make that one happen. And then the Vladimir into Azir, which can be punishment early for the Vlad, but otherwise you just wait on a little while and everything is generally fine. This is 2 teamfight compositions, though, butting heads. Not this time do we see the teams with different identities moving onto the Rift, both of them wanting to gun for about similar timings of where they want to fight.
I want to see Score be really creative with the Jungle Jacks, the ability to path, the ability to gank from huge range that most other junglers can't, sort of maybe a Zac with some levels, gives you a lot of flexibility. I feel like he's the big wild card here. Otherwise, let's get down to business, Atlas. It's time to go to Game 3 of a Telecom War, one of the highlights of the year.
Yep, it's terrifying times if you're a KT fan, because often you don't see a victory. We might this time around, though. Let's hit the Rift. SKT fans, they know there is certainly power in their court when we're in this situation. 1-1 between KT and SKT.
You see the blood in the water, Atlas, and how can you not? Like you were alluding to, history makes for not good reading for KT fans since the start of 2017. Every best of 3 have gone to 3 games, but regardless of whether it was a Game 1 or a Game 2 victory for KT, it was always a Game 3 victory for SK Telecom T1. Very strong team fight draft from them in this game.
In fact, it was a Game 3 victory for SK Telecom every single time, even when it was a 3-0 in the best of 5, even when it was a reverse sweep. It seems like you get to number 3, KT doesn't really know what to do.
But there is a number that changed, and that is the year. It is 2018. This is the chance for them to remove the shackles of the KT Almost Man that did not make it work with what was deemed a super team at the start of 2017. See what can happen here. Pawn was talking up a very big game, as we'll know. He's also showing a big game, as you're laughing about. Has gone for the Easyhoon SKT Azir skin, trying to get in the head of Faker. But Pawn had said, this is my year to stand up. I feel like I really am the top-tier mid laner who can compare myself to anyone in the world. Obviously, subtweeting Faker in many ways with a comment like that. So he's very much saying that he needs to stand up and be counted. Don't think he covered himself in glory with the series so far. Now's his chance.
Well, Deft, he's got the Pulse Fire Ezreal. We'll see whether his Ezreal is going to be able to stand up to Bang's Kalista. The Varus was not enough. And this is Bang's Kalista, remember. Of course, this is in the game. I just feel that you immediately have to feel like you're on the back foot. As SKT just navigate around these Kalista comps, around Bang, so beautifully well. But this is 2-threat comp versus 2-threat comp. We've got tanks doing all of that damage. Faker and Bang going to be taking care of it for SKT.
And that's clarifying that, you know, you see Jackson. If it's solo queue you're expecting Bloodrazor and the Trinity Force, but we're in competitive play, so heavily expecting this to be the tank Jungle Jacks debuted by Everate winners Malrung, which is basically going full tank. You know, Righteous Glory might be thrown in there, Cinder Hulk as a start. The thing that it does provide is from level 3 onwards, with a ward, you can ward, jump, flash. You have very long engage range and the counter-strike, that AoE CC. You can gank mid from directions that only really Rek'Sai and Shaco can because of your flexibility. So there's a lot of options to gank as the Jungle Jacks, and you have decent base damage just with your passive attack speed and also your ultimate providing you with auto attack reset damage. So this is the part where Jungle Jacks comes most online. A huge level 3 power spike above many, many other junglers, but good vision from SKT and a control ward also will spot him out.
Well, speaking of being spotted out, Blank also going to be discovered by the tree, roaming into the jungle. You could imagine he's pretty comfortable. But Smeb and Tal actually having a decent time. Tal with a minion wave gathering up for him to take down, but it looks like Smeb has been with a lot of control. Sort of early in the preseason, Maokai was seen as utter dominance and sort of one of the easiest champions to really win lane with on the top side of the map.
So another reason that the tank Jax is possible is press the attack. Means that he will be able to have a bit of damage just from his R procs as he is on those extended trades and can proc it pretty quickly. Not quite Shyvana, but at decent speed. So it feels like the runes also help out this more tanky Jax. Blank's mid lane. There is no Jax shadowing him, so definitely man advantage for the side of SKT.
Yep, still Pawn playing to his vision. Control ward down on the bottom side. Blank is going to move his way out. Faker also standing well back, just waiting to pick up this minion wave as it heads under. Score moving over, wants another Rift Scuttler. It's just Scuttle destruction here for this guy, able to get a lot of damage in with that CC that's down.
Unsealed Spellbook Callista. That's what we're seeing here. Trying to get those extra backs. Feels like AD carries really only pick it up for the teleport and then just swap it for the heal later in the game. But the extra backs are very high priority, given the back timing, backing on a cannon minion, all the other things that all you bot lane mains out there in Twitch chat know all about, can be subverted with the ability to teleport back into lane.
Yep.
Can take a bad trade and still not be punished by the ability to TP back in.
Minion wave location for backs not going to be as much of a priority. We saw, of course, Faker having to move down towards the bottom side on the Corki in game 1. That's not a problem now. But I do like that you bring that up. It means that SKT do not want to have that horror early game that they did experience in the bottom lane in game 1.
In general, this game is seeming slower. I feel like this might be the long game that we've been denied today, Atlas. We haven't seen the big four when it comes to a 40-minute game, and this is the LCK that currently is averaging around 43 minutes. So
thanks, Jinair.
Yep.
And SKT.
They have solo been helping out for sure, but it's still been the norm rather than the rarity. Here we will see that teleport back in. Welcome back, Callista. Vamp Scepter purchased.
Effort as well, actually taking a lot of damage.
I wonder
hold on to that wave.
I wonder if you just lane as KT until 6 and then try to Abyssal Voyage back to lane to get a pseudo teleport of your own.
That's a cute way of doing it. Kleptomancy, of course, way too good on the Ezreal.
Does delay your tier timing and your Muramana timing, but it's the only way that KT can actually get preferential backs. Could also be that Def just gives up on it and goes back and buys tier and Sheen and gives up a minion wave, and given how far he's backed, it does seem like no need for the semi-global this time.
Got a red pot as well using that Kleptomancy. A couple of stacks of gold there as well, so the tier and the Sheen are able to be purchased.
6 items. Feels good, Ezreal.
Yeah. Keeps the red pot, decides not to sell it to try and get a different item. Of course, feeling very good with this current back, though. I actually love the feeling of Sheen tier. Not quite a full man immune, but that sort of requires you to get some kills.
Would love to see what sorcery Faker's opted into. Ultimate Hat is very popular on Vladimir, just because you can get that ult on a very low cooldown. The Gathering Storm was flavor of the moment in our earlier games today, so wonder if we'll be seeing that on him. Goes in on Pawn.
Yeah, Pawn's just going to be able to get his way out. He's pretty handy.
It's going to be the GP10 route from the Vladimir as well. Plan here is to rush into the completed Frost Queen's claim as fast as possible, and then you no longer have the killing minions penalty when it comes to getting the quest stacks. And when you get that mini ghost effect 3 times in a fight, you are very, very powerful as the Vladimir. Uses the quest better than almost any other mage, so why it is so highly prized on him.
Yeah, want to try and grab it as early as possible because you do need that 750 gold before it does activate. A little bit harder when you're farming at the same time, but that's all right. We'll have that Frost Queen very quickly. Sort of has a lot of things that Vladimir just likes anyway, given the fact that the CDR was added to the Frostfang, so it doesn't even feel that bad to have a passive that isn't able to be utilized necessarily for the money.
It's very gold efficient, and obviously not 100% when you're not going to include mana regen, but it's still not such a gold sink that you still feel good about. The GP10, like you say, good about the CDR early because it's 850 gold and only 500 gold after your starting item for 10% CDR. Old Vladimir builds were the Hextech Revolver early rather than the Kindle Gem early towards the Proto Belt. So you no longer have the Proto Belt early, but you're getting the CDR earlier than usual. Level 7, 10% CDR, no pushing Vladimir out of line.
Well, Pawn's going to be able to push him under his turret, at least. He's going to move forward. Crimson Rush just looking for that. Trying to get that extra bit back. That's how you play Vladimir. Just transfuse, transfuse, big transfuse.
Score will try and solo the Infernal. The answer is yes. Can just ward jump out, so a lot of safety here. Oh, he has the Sweeping Lens. He has a control ward to jump over, and then 1 left on the trackers, so he's in good stead here. Blank spotted. Will he walk up to the Drake? We don't see so far. The answer is yes, but it's going to actually be a smite battle.
Yeah, we'll see whether Score can actually grab it. Does. Uses the Leap Strike as well, and flashes to get his way out. Didn't have an extra ward. Oh, he did have an extra ward, but of course used the leap to secure the dragon.
Yeah, used the Q for dragon secure, so gives up his flash. Do you see Smeb walking down, trying to do some vision clearing, doing a bit of an assist, because they know the Blank's going to be basically battle warding against the Jacks for a little while now.
Yep. Faker not too worried here in the mid lane to be going down to half health. He is a Vladimir, of course, and does have the Frost Queen's Claim completed. So every time he does damage to Pawn, building up those stacks, getting towards that point where you get that burst of speed.
Wait to see if this is an 8.1 exclusive build for Vladimir. My first thought is yes, because on 8.2 the quest is removed and a Sightstone is added. Could just mean we become League of Vision, and then maybe we'll see even less kills. So I guess that could happen, but I'm going to go glass half full and assume that we'll move away from the GP10 on most of the laners.
Possibly even some of the junglers as well. I feel like that quest was working pretty well for the likes of the Skarner, things like that.
But maybe you can go for a Frostfang early as Nidalee and then just get a red smite rather than a green smite.
Yeah, challenging smite will work on her.
So for junglers, I think there's some latitude, but for laners, it's a little bit less attractive.
Yeah, even chilling smite as well. I mean, I guess that's theoretically the same maneuver. Faker continuing to be aggressive despite the fact that the health advantage goes to Pawn. Still farming up nicely. It's KT's mid laner. It's a scary prospect though. Every time you look at Faker, it looks like he's the one with the plans moving forward.
How about Ezreal in these scenarios where he's against an unsealed spellbook teleport abuser in the bot lane? Is you can just get Iceborne Gauntlet, and then you probably never need to leave lane. You got Tyr and Iceborne Gauntlet for a lot of mana, a lot of wave control as well. Very hard to chunk out. Not expecting too much attention from Jarvan and Ornn in the laning base bot side. So mid lane, Faker's getting frisky.
Hemo play goes down. Faker actually wants it, grabs a whole bunch of health back, but in goes Score. Thankfully, pulls there. Faker not going to be taken down. Still has a timepiece. Marta's not even going to be able to add enough. So Pawn gets a free back. They shove the wave in. But now so much vision on this bottom side. Everyone knows exactly what's going on, and Deft does need to be careful.
This is the time, if you're Rolex, to get in there and sponsor the stopwatches. You get a lot of lip service during the cast.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see what comes first. Probably going to be some adjustments towards some of those utility runes, given that Inspiration has been so dominating as a tree so far. Not in 8.2, those notes online, but not going to be seen in live for a little while. Sorry, competitive for a while. Nice invade from SKT, playing around their pushing lanes, and also the fact that Azir was pushed out. Saw this in Game 2 from SKT, and we see it here as well.
See, Smeb was, doing his very best to try and stop that steal, but no way that Smeb could out-smite the Bramble Smash.
How about some more laning, Atlas?
Yeah, I love laning. I'm a big fan.
Good news. We've got plenty of laning. We do have Infernal into Infernal, though, so that's a bit of hot fire that might be fun to watch.
It's all the excitement that we have available to us.
Sliding scales, unfortunately.
Yep, game very slow, but 400 gold the lead for KT.
Cinderhawk done for Score. Let's see if Pawn and Score actually want to take the Rift Herald.
A lot of damage. You've got the Azir there to add on to it, but
the vision, and so
yeah,
it'll be too much early invitation, and Score decides that clearing out his wolves is higher priority. He just leave that Rift Herald standing all game, as Faker no longer is going to take the role of the defensive side of the lane. He's going to be the aggressor now.
And already has a CS advantage as well, so that's real scary stuff. Deft falling behind here as far as farm on the bottom side. Note that he will be at least at gold parity, given the Kleptomancy.
If we see the ultra late game team fights, it's hard to see SKT losing them. They have so many tools, but
another Hemo Plate comes in. Pawn's going to take a fair bit of damage. Yeah.
There's no thought in Faker's mind that he'll get a solo kill, but if he can get a summoner, if he can get lane control, that's enough.
Score's actually going to get chunked out. Knocked up here as well as Faker really wants to find that Crimson Rush. It's charging up, but in comes Marta and Deft. Want to be able to find him. Deft actually getting chunked by that Q, as you can see.
Gonna lose a lot of turret HP for this, you'd imagine. The minion wave starting to come to lane. Score's greedy, going for the red buff on a zombie ward. Has not been on the ball with clearing those zombie wards, so a lot of extra information from SKT that Faker's working around. That's why what looks like relentless aggression is actually controlled aggression. And if you let Faker have controlled aggression, he will run away with a lane 10 out of 10 times.
Oh yeah. Right over the top. And that does mean that the gold becomes completely and utterly even. Top side of the map, Smeb and Tal just doing exactly the same.
Whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, whole lot of nothing. Mid lane CS advantage is sort of answered by Score being ahead in the jungle. And Kleptomancy being taken by Deft means that the gold on the bottom side of the map is incredibly even as well. And this is exactly what we wanted in a game number 3. I know it may not necessarily be a whole lot of action, but what we want is these teams to be playing on a similar level. And it looks right now in every single lane, everything's going the same way. As there's the Fate's call. SKT want to change that situation. The stun comes up. Good Arcane Shift to get Deft out of the way of the Glacial Fissure, and the teleport going to get cancelled very, very late out of SKT. They utilize that time to try and get a little bit more harassment on Tomato.
Timing was really smart from SKT. Bang saw that Deft, who of course had not shopped, was low on mana. They instantly ulted in on Tomato. Weren't able to get the kill, but get exhaust out of it. Blank was roaming down as well. There was no actual ability for Deft to turn it around because he did not have multiple rotations of spells or Mystic Shots, and that means that this is going to be a free Infernal for SKT outside of a Score Magical Steal, and he's not going to do that.
No, not too bothered by that one. That's going to even out the Infernal Drake count, so not a huge deal. True Shot Barrage giving away the fact that Deft did go back to base, but I believe they would have figured that one out anyway. Manamune completed, got some free-ass boots there in his back pocket as well. 4 out of 5. Damn, thrift shopping on the side of KT.
Bit of extra power, but when it comes to gold, only 200 gold is the lead for KT Rolster. No control of mid lane for Pawn in a good matchup. Trying something now, but Faker just ults. Ultimate hat proc.
Yeah. Oh, that timing was stunning. Just predicting exactly when the Emperor's Divide was going to come out.
Never fun to be started upon.
Oh, Heal actually baited Faker in there as Pawn. He's going to turn up. Stopwatch is there. Buying time for the pull to come back off cooldown. Will he have it? No, not going to get chased. KT know that he did have that option. 20% CDR, sorry, 30% already built up, so would have had the pull.
Yeah, styling upon Pawn in that regard. Trading up in Summoners. Getting also the Jungler's Flash. Faker did it in Game 2. He's trying to do it here in Game 3. Outclassing Pawn one more time. They keep pushing into mid lane. Score has been trivialized. Very difficult to gank for either the top lane or the mid lane, honestly bot lane. So it's been a farm fest for the Jax. Doesn't play the strengths of the tank jungle Jax. Faker keeps pushing. He grows a CS lead with GP10. He's going to be a lot of the gold for SKT, predictable.
Oh, man, and so much of the damage.
Welcome back to the lane.
Yeah. Has been picked up. There's the Ornn ultimate coming out from Tal, but doesn't find Pawn with it. Was trying to predict that the game of Pong not going to be collected there by Pawn. But Tal easily able just to wander back to the lane. Smeb's not going to be able to stop him from farming, but does give at least KT the opportunity to grab themselves a blue buff here in the mid lane.
He has a shoving advantage over his opponent as well. Iceborne Gauntlet probably just going to be Frozen Heart here as the trades get stronger and stronger from SKT in the bot side.
Yeah, True Shot Barrage flies forward. Unbreakable not there for effort, of course, so that's a decent maneuver. Faker's going to be spotted. Counter-Strike's going to be down. In goes Pawn. Picks up the kill. Faker caught shopping 2 weeks in a row.
Exactly. He got caught by the Orbital Strike Redemption and then once again does all the hard work, and predictably, it's only in the trivialities that Faker is tripped up upon. Big solo mistake. A single mistake decided Game 2. Don't know if that's going to decide Game 3, but it's the first feel-good moment for KT since we spawned.
That's a disaster, though. You can't be feeling great. Proto Belt's now completed. It's not going to mean that he's going to have any less control of the area, but Pawn gifted 300 gold for nothing.
Faker was deciding between lots of lovely options to Vladimir, then he was dead.
Yeah. And all too easy. Wasn't able to grab that. And that was first blood as well, so make that 400 gold.
And this is something that we haven't touched upon, but Faker traditionally has not found success on the Vlad. I remember many Vlad games he's played in good matchups, and what I found with his Vladimir is that normally when you see Faker, do well in lane and then push his advantage to other lanes. His roams are legendary. I've seen him get roamed upon many times as Vladimir, not as relevant with the Azir, but I feel like Faker's been second to a lot of fights as Vladimir that a Ghost Flash user shouldn't be. So historically not a great pick. Still a good start here, still a fantastic laning phase. One small mistake and you start to wonder.
Yeah, Proto Belt's going to be used there by Faker, trying to get on top of Pawn once again, but just going to shift his sands over there and get his way out. Sand skating quite nicely. Here's Pawn. Blade of the Ruin King going to be the next option here for Deft. No Trinity Forces this time. But still lagging behind as far as farm. Bang. well and truly a free lane for the Kalista.
My opinion on teamfights, though, and scaling in this game, well, now that we're cementing that we're going to have pretty even item parity when we hit items, is that SKT's teamfight is a lot more straightforward. Atlas waiting for the Devour here, but it's the Arcane Shift.
Oh, Faker's actually in trouble. Oh, not going to go into the Sanguine Pool, so Pawn unable to bait that one out as there's the pull. Finally coming in. Oh, the Emperor's Divide, not enough. Cataclysm can't be cancelled. Pawn, Score trying to get himself out. Is going to move out of the way. Stopwatch is going to be used, gets out of the way of at least the Ram. But speaking of getting rammed, he's going to get smacked on by Faker. Picks it up with a Transfuse. Man in the mid lane gets some revenge.
Yeah, Faker had the latitude to go forward. Let's see if there's enough damage here from Smeb. You'd think not. On the Maokai, it looked like Faker was out of position, but the first collapse happened. That's why he was pushed up. First turret of the game, first brick in the mid lane is even bigger for SKT. He may have made a mistake a few minutes ago, but they trade up massively in that regard.
We have to remember that, I mean, that was just first blood going down. That was the only thing that came in. This time, that tower able to go down. Faker here just gets his way back.
Nothing that Pawn can do. The ultimate will always register from the Jarvan. So he was always going to be dead in that regard. Overchased, though. They could have just taken the early chunk and backed away, but when you pick up one kill, you feel hungry for the second one. And hunger is punishment on the side of KT. After the extended turret dive actually puts them ahead in kills, Faker shows up with 3 items already compared to 1.5 from the side of KT. That's what happens when you have GP10 rolling.
Yeah, and the Zhonya's plus Proto Belt are both of the extra buttons that Vladimir desperately wants as quickly as possible. Thank you very much, Stopwatch, but that's a one-use thing. Now he's just got it on a minute or so cooldown. Proto Belting forward again. Faker understanding his damage windows really nicely on the Vlad. Never questioning his ability to play out the champion in lane, like you said, more about getting around the map, and that's exactly what he's going to do right now.
I wonder if a game like this means we'll see more of Tal, as I'll hold the point for now.
Yep, Smeb is actually down here, though, looking for his opportunity to get in there. There's the Nature's Call, getting himself on top. We've got the Ram coming back. Nice double knock-up as it's Marta that falls down first. Score can't find his way in. There's the flash to get on top of the Kalista, and Pawn, he turns up as well. We've got Emperor's Divide being waited to be used. Can he get the priority targets, though? Effort incredibly low. Pawn, lots of consistent damage, but the Shifting Sand's not going to get him too much further forward. In goes Faker. The Sanguine Pool's there. Not going to find anything. Are the Sand Soldiers. And now it's Bang jumping forward. He's at full health. SKT have utilized so much depth. True Shot Barrage, so much damage. And that's going to be able to pick up Blank. There are still 2 dead, though. KT don't have a lot of their damage available as Pawn has hit the Death Chamber. Sanguine Pool once again, but I think the Faker might just fall here. Slowed down. Counter-Strike will be used in time. Yes, it will, and Score is going to be able to grab that kill. Faker being a little bit too tricky.
A bit of a botched teamfight there from KT. If you watch the bottom side of it, Smeb was happy feeding left and right. Wasn't ever actually able to get in, so wasn't really a factor on the Maokai. I thought it would be a bigger loss for them. But first Blank, then Faker go too far. Invite, they see the low mana bar and they think, okay, Deft can't be involved. But with this many mana items, he still has multiple Arcane Shifts and Mystic Shots. It spares some blushes from KT. It gets them the Infernal as well. So they do end up slightly winners. Watch the replay and notice that Smeb ults in. That's, of course, his first contribution. They pile in, great use of the Pong, and also the Jarvan scores out of the fight. Smeb from the rest of this is down out of the fight as well. It's very, very extended. SKT feel comfortable because they see the low mana bar on Deft, but Smeb is no longer a factor. I thought the fact that he wasn't involved was going to be the real big punishment, but Pawn goes aggressive, does consistent damage. SKT re-engage. There's still no Smeb. He never gets back into the fray. Bang gets a single kill. Smeb again is zoned out, but the turn here surprised them. The fact that Deft could pop a mana potion, get back in, first kill onto Blank, second kill when Faker walks down trying to buy time for his team. So extended, but even without the Maokai, KT are able to slightly squeak out ahead.
Yeah, it's frightening stuff. And actually watching over that fight again, the Emperor's Divide I felt didn't look like it really did too much because he didn't wait for the end of the Sanguine Pool, but what it felt like he was trying to do is just provide a wall that no one could actually get over. Give KT a free disengage, but left a little bit of a hole on the bottom side, meaning that the follow-up was there. Shot Barrage, of course, denied by the Unbreakable.
Story as old as time between Unbreakable and True Shot Barrage. So every meta since Braum and Ezreal have both been around. I think back to the mid lane Ezreal days, and that was still the story.
Yep.
SKT have the easier to execute comp. They can very easily go for the wombo that we saw with the Jarvan and the Ornn, as Score finds his opposite number in the jungle. KT have a more tricky one, Atlas. They have to get out of the initial burst and then reset and have SKT still be committing for specifically Azir to do damage. Otherwise, going to be kited out. We've seen some Azirs in recent memory. That's why with SKT in a good foothold, 2,000 gold up, you do favor SKT, but there are ways to make KT's comp work. What they have is the more reliable pick power. They have the Maokai teleport. Getting control wards, getting vision supremacy is the best way for KT to win the late game, because if they just run at each other 5v5, I think SKT wins many more than 50%.
Yeah. Even with Smeb picking up the Maokai, mostly just so that he could try and get the Twisted Advance onto Bang. There's a concussive blows. Deft having to be a little bit careful here. Dodges out of the way of one, but there's the Ornn. Mata having to use the Devour, but triple knockup as the Pong gets bounced back. Another Emperor's Divide that's left a bit wanting. Flashes from everyone as Mata is going to be taken down. Deft already dead, and SKT should be able to move to a Baron. Score, can he try and get some sort of steal? I don't know. 3 versus 5, it's a tough call.
Teamfight Dogpile does beat KT Wilson. Deft dies with both his summoners up. Probably thought the heal at minimum would have come out. Let's see how the goaltending is done here. Baron at 6,000.
Yeah, remember, 26-minute Baron, not exactly the latest one in the game, so it's going down slowly. A lot of damage potential here from Pawn. They're actually going for it as Tal makes his way in. They're committing to the Baron. They get rid of Tal first. The Ren stacks are going to be torn out, but are they going to survive? 4 versus 3. KT getting kited for the moment. Blank able to wait for the flag and dragon. SKT, they sacrifice their top laner, but they get the Baron at 26 minutes.
Yeah, they make the percentage play, Atlas. They put faith in the Smite and Rend duo. They get the big objective to justify the setup. We're going to see a replay here. Deft at the start wants them to hold on to Devour. You don't see a Devour, but the problem is Devour is no match for the call of the Forge God. You can't get away from this unless you flash early. Didn't have flash up. Deft dies with his summoners available. And then Maokai only has single target outside of the ultimate. So easy for SKT to execute, like we said. Easy to execute, can be so strong at the top level because all these players are very talented, but the reliability means that if you choose the right engage, it's going to go more often than not like that, Atlas and SKT. A couple of team fights away from winning our first telecom war.
Yeah. 2 items now on the man in the mid lane for KT. Pawn, 2-2-1, decent scoreline, but...
Oh, look at this build though, it's very low damage also. Yeah. Banshee Veil and Nashor's Tooth. Won't be doing any chunking, not the sort of build that you'd see Faker go on Azir, would get a Void Stuff, would try to be a battler, will be healing Tal in many ways with his damage, unfortunately, because it is so low damage, whereas Faker is ready to go and then some. 5 items already complete, cheaper build because of the GP10, but Void Stuff as well. Very difficult to see them get anything out of Pawn until the very late game.
Well, it will be strong, but I mean, the plays he's been making as well, Papa, it's not the Azir that we saw in game number 2. And of course, it's hard to be Faker, but it's a bit rough because he begs the comparison. It's just not the high impact.
Yeah, look, there's another game where it's a squishy lineup from SKT and Azir can blow them away, but double locket complete. The frontline Ornn is certainly not going to be taking any damage. Warmogs on blank. Very difficult for them to actually get value out of the Azir, who was already getting kited at the best of times. The map control completely with SKT, as Toll just wants to take away the blue buff. He will.
Yep, we're trading ultimates though. Kitty Cat's flying across the rift. I like it. Rams versus Cats. I think I know who wins that one, because one of them's much bigger and has hooves. Certainly did happen as the blue was taken. And it seems that the solo laners from SKT having a field day in this 1-3-1 scenario. Lots of vision being pushed up towards the bottom side, and that's where the 3 members of SKT are going to be focused. Sand Soldiers doing some work, but Unbreakable, of course, helping the Braum.
Already one Ornn item upgraded, so it seems like Toll just want to spend 500 gold to get the improved magic resist and armor on the Locket. SKT are going to get an uninterrupted Drake. No way to interrupt this. Only 30 seconds left on the Baron, so Couldn't even crack the inhibitor turrets with this one, but gold lead is there. It's not massive, it's 4,500. It's still a feel-good moment for SKT. You just feel like one more Hemo Plague on 3 members and a free hitting bang represents death for KT Rolster.
Now another needlessly large rod done for Faker as well. Smeb, he's looking to go home. It's just so hard to lock down Faker. The man's 1, 2, and 5. He has died a couple of times, but 6 out of 6 in the kill contribution. He's been there for everything. And that's what we wanted to see improve. Getting him around the map, getting him into these skirmishes, and if 100% kill contribution tells you anything, it's that he's been there.
I do like the toll also. You know, I mentioned the improved locket. Note that he has a locket. Tank's getting locket ever since he got health scaling was very big. Both these teams have good AoE. Pawn, the chief offender on the side of KT, the Vladimir, of course, and the Callista, the big ones on SKT. There is no locket on the side of KT. Smeb has gone for selfish stats. Also, Score has gone for selfish stats, so they have no ability to help Deft and Pawn get through. Now, Pawn does have magic resist from the Banshee Veil, so they've all gone selfish, whereas you have a lot of team statistics on the side of SKT. And from memory, the Ornn evolved locket does not stack with the regular locket in a negative way. You don't get the diminishing returns that are considered different items by the game. So they're actually going to get full value out of 2 lockets, which also further explains why we saw it upgraded early by the Ornn.
And I know that we don't know the name of it, so I'm not actually going to talk about the
Mega
real
Locket.
Name. Is it the locket of the gold Solari as opposed to the iron one? Or do you want to go up 1 level, you know? Locket of the platinum Solari?
I'm going to give you another go at this joke. It wasn't good. Try again.
Should I wait a bit?
No, just now. We've got nothing happening, so what's the name of the item, Atlas?
Locket of the titanium Solari?
Okay, I give up on you. Let's get back to the game. You've got nothing to give me here.
Sorry, Mr. Friend. Sorry. I still don't know what your one is. Locket of the awesome Solari, is that what you said? That's not
I didn't have to contribute.
You're not even
you did all the talking.
You're not even getting a
Atlas.
stronger metal.
No.
Okay, never mind.
KT just want to find a foothold here. They have no vision line to really talk of. A couple of isolated wards in their blue buff. No control of their top side. They're being starved out of resources against SKT, which is another story as old as time. See Mata walking up. There's a degree of risk just going as far as he did. Could have just seen the Callista ultimate and then potentially his doom. KT trying to find a way to get their own jungle camp, so that seems impossible. They turn on to Mata. They crowd KT out of their own jungle. The Goldie will only grow in this scenario.
Yeah. Def trying to get some poke damage in here as Effort sets up the Unbreakable. Blank doesn't take too much damage, and Tal waiting in the wings. They get the ward down first. There's the charge. Unable to get the lockdown, and that's just a Brambleback that will be stolen away. In fact, leashed. As there's the call of the Forge God. They're looking for a good double knockup. Comes out from Tal, but the Nature's Grasp is there. Faker right in the backline. The exhaust comes in, and Tal grabs the first kill on to Score. SKT, another double knockup. Tal's a massive beast on this Forge God himself. Will be taken down low, though. That was a good Shurima shuffle coming in from Pawn. Make that a double kill, a triple. Pawn's turned it on. He's figured it out. And now Deft once more. He's got no health, but they want to clean this one up. Pawn, can he make it a quadra? Effort in trouble. Unbreakable. It's not that unbreakable, sir, but we don't have the cooldowns, and Pawn's not going to follow up. KT, they find the window.
SKT thought that was their winning moment. They saw the highlight package with it after the game, but it wasn't. They spent too long in Pawn Sandsoldier. Since we last looked, he has a Needless Large Rod and the Void Staff. Even through double locket, they're able to take them down, and this is going to be an inhibitor against the run of play by KT Rolster.
That is one of the first times in a telecom war I've seen an overreach from SKT.
And look at this. I say inhibitor. KT says no. We want the Baron. We do not want to be exposed. Taking inhibitor, recalling, and having SKT take Baron. So they're going to take an inhibitor turret only and guarantee themselves a Baron. That's a very restrained thing to do. Not taking a naked inhibitor when you can, but they prize the Baron, and they know they can return to the inhibitor in a few moments.
They also know that SKT have an incredible Baron-taking composition with the fact that they do have the Callista. Let's see this again and see where it all goes wrong for SKT.
Again, it looks so straightforward. Dev's knocked up. He's not going to do any damage. Vladimir's in the backline. GG SKT right? No. Watch what happens as this goes on. A lot of damage is dumped onto Smeb, but Pawn gets into his own base, and the Cataclysm, notice that through the Cataclysm, he's doing damage the entire time. The soldiers He's in safety. No one can get to Pawn. He's actually helped out by Blank's Cataclysm, and they mow everyone down. The Void Stuff and the Nizar's Rod puts him over the edge. That's the late game Azir everyone thought would be kited out at this point in the game. SKT bit off more than they can chew. I didn't think it was possible, but it happened.
Yep, and this time we've got a Rabbidan's Death Cap on top of Pawn as well. So
boy.
if they disrespect that again, that's a disaster waiting to happen. Even with this Hex Drinker available for Deft, it means that this chunking that Faker's been putting down on him with these Crimson Rushes, with his transfusions, not going to be hurting as much this time. So it all just gets a little bit better for KT, and they've got the Baron buff.
Every SKT fan was ready to talk about the victory. They may still get. They're still in a great position. But this Baron buff isn't being used for them to just take one inhibitor. They want two out of it, Atlas. They're going to a third turret. Vladimir is going to go for a long walk, but will be spotted by wards. KT continue to push up.
Yeah, KT with a little bit more reliable damage as well, I guess, as we move towards the late game, but Faker's trying to prove me wrong here. Hemoplague, we'll see how many people it's actually going to get on top of, as Marta is going to be able to spit out Deft. They've got the Locket of the Iron Solari, it's doing some work. Smef, he's at really high health. Sand Soldier's doing work, but it's not anymore. Pawn's going to be taken down, and the Sanguine pulls in there. Make it now a triple kill for SKT as they move further forward. And KT, they're the ones to overextend this time.
There's no safety for Azir in terrain like that. They spotted out Faker, could not fully disengage, don't have a Tahm Kench for the entire team. And that means that SKT will actually pick up an inhibitor of their own. Watch the replay here. Remember that the terrain was so important for Pawn to be able to be free in the back line. But before the Forge God comes on, Deft is disengaged, but then scores out of position. Everyone's out of position when we finally see the flank from Faker. This time the Cataclysm seals the doom of Azir rather than being the walls of life. They take down the front line, they take down the DPS. When we get back to live, we'll see the effect on the base. It's only an inhibit turret again, so again restraint being shown. Pawn still 5 seconds away. SKT have their eyes on the Elder Dragon.
Exactly the same play, but mirrored to the other side of the map, Papa. The Elder Dragon will be going down in favor of SKT, who will once again, oh man, catches it. Effort, pretty good at playing Pong. He's got Tal there, of course. Tal has set himself up for that ability. This call of the Forge God, but Def not going to be able to go for a steal, so exactly the same play. And now SKT back in the same position that they were earlier.
And even with Tal and Effort in the lineup, you know, a handful of competitive games between the two players, very, very young. Everyone knows their role on SKT. Effort knows his role is to deny there being a steal, and all he had to do was unbreakable the Ezreal ultimate, and that part would be guaranteed. I love seeing that SKT can play with the members, play with the lineup, but still have that same understanding. So, great job by him in that regard after being caught out a few times in Game 1 especially. SKT, with this team comp, are still in the lead. It's oh so close. 1 minute 30 left on the Elder Dragon.
Well, Bang actually has a stopwatch still available to him on this Kalista.
Guardian Angel doesn't provide that much stats for the cost, and he already has a stopwatch, so probably smart to go into the double lifesteal.
Already has at least the Bloodthirster and the Makura Scimitar. We'll see where he... Well, actually, triple lifesteal. So, next one probably going to be a Last Whisper. There's a lot of armor now being built up by the tanky members of KT.
Faker's at 6 items and upgraded his Orin items, so as decked out as he can be, short of a elixir being picked up. Doesn't have one right now.
Sonya's Mega Watch.
We saw Pawn in a game similar to this start with the upgraded Zonias and then change it for Deathcap, knowing that his role was to need to do more damage in the late game. And the Orin pass will be relevant in the late game, given there's 5,000 gold worth of stats that won't be available to the side of KT.
Deft, speaking of 6 items, finished off his Maw of Malmortius.
Pretty low damage build, though, has had to go for the Maw of Malmortius, knowing that magic damage is going to chip at him one way or the other. Can't really kite away a Vladimir.
Well, here's another call. It's going to get Marta. They're going for the Tahm Kench by the looks, but
going for the inhibitor.
Continue that one as yet. Inhibitor already down to half health. Sand Soldiers positioning themselves actually away, giving a lot of opportunity for SKT to get free damage on this inhib. Counter-Strike just going to be waited out. SKT playing patiently, not able to take down the inhibitor just yet. Waiting for the next minion wave. Another Unbreakable will be there to stop the minions from moving forward. And Faker, he's going to move his way out.
5 seconds on the Elder Dragon, but then they're worried about that. Like you say, the minion wave more important.
Yep, Score actually going to take this opportunity to jump himself in, but not going to find too much more. Deft off to the other side is going to be okay. Zombie Ward's eaten up, and SKT unable to take down the inhibitor, but it's down so low. We'll be regenning slowly.
Had the PTSD from the last time there was a fight around this area of the map where Pawn single-handedly was able to carry KT over the line. Means they don't get the inhibitor. You just have to love how we have this parity between the two sides. Both of them, no inhibitor in the mid lane, but no inhibitors have been down. Resting over to 40 minutes in the game. An extra Infernal Drake is great, but the Ornn upgrades also is extra stats to the side of SKT that cannot be answered by KT. So much parity 40 minutes into our first of many telecom wars in 2018. SKT looking significantly better than the team that could not beat Jin Air. KT Rolster also looking better, so it's good to see both showing improvement. Whichever team wins will have the bragging rights, but the fans of the losing team will at least be able to say they saw more out of their telecom team than they did in week 1.
Yeah. And it feels like it happens every single time. It doesn't matter about what the form is. It's always a fantastic series. You always see the mind games because these teams have been playing against each other for so long. The matchup has such a great name. 40 minutes in, still could go either way, but 6,000 gold is the lead for SKT.
Look at this. Actually sold the stopwatch for a upgraded Black Cleaver. That was... if this was a quiz game, that was not one of the responses Ornolt's used.
Yep. Well, the Forge God doesn't find anyone, though. As in goes Faker to get in round the back. There's the Cataclysm. Emperor's Divide is dodged by Faker. He has his Zhonya's as well, doing so much damage. But KT, they may have turned it around. Deft picks up the kill onto Faker, and now they're moving forward. SKT all grouped up. Sand Soldiers ripping them apart. And do we have the chase available? Score has the flash. He's got the Counter-Strike, but he gets slowed down. Marta, he's gone so far forward, and Smev is going to get delivered. Bang, still dancing around the team fight. Remember, 4 versus 5. Make that 3. As Pawn grabs the kill onto Tal at the same time. This should definitely be inhibitor. Can it be more?
Faker thought he had his moment. The EQ onto Deft almost one-shot him through the damn maw of Malmortius. It wasn't enough. KT is smelling victory here. Vlad is dead. Can they end the game?
20 seconds on Faker, 40 seconds on Tal. 5 versus 3, but Bang is still alive. In goes Score. They're looking for more. They get the pushback. Pawn in so much trouble under the turret, but Deft gets rid of Bang. This could be the ace for KT. SKT are aced. The Nexus turrets are taken down, and KT create history in 2018.
KT pull off the highway robbery on the SKT hype train. It looks like it would be history, but we said the one thing different was the year had changed. KT Rolster never picked up a best of 3 with this roster in 2017, and then 2 team fights, and fittingly, 2 mistakes from Faker have cost 2 best of 3s. It was the Kazik solo kill in the 94-minute extravaganza, and now he smelt blood. He almost one-shot Deft, but he was turned on, he was killed, and in that exact passage of play, KT Rolster are your winners of the telecom war.
And so deserve it as well. Massive shout-out to Pawn. I was giving this guy some grief after some early misplays, but then when it all counts, turned it all around, gets all of his Sand Soldiers exactly where they need to be.
You know what the best thing is, though, Atlas? On the SKT side, Faker had a fantastic series, as he always does. If you asked him, would you have done that team fight any different, he would have told you no. He knew his role. He came in for the flank, almost one-shotted Deft, but the turnaround by KT was beautiful. Deft is actually inconsolable on his screen. They've never felt this feeling as a group of 5. They were put together to beat SK Telecom T1. It's not the time they wanted. It's not the spring 2017 final, but it is a victory for KT Rolster.
And never were there those moments for Deft in this series as well where he gets picked off. It was him almost getting picked off in a lot of these circumstances, actually playing very reserved. Game number 1 is Caitlyn was uncontrollably beautiful, but often game number 1 is where Deft is able to get the work done. Some obvious fatigue, and the man is so relieved that we have finally a KT Rolster victory in a telecom war. Thank goodness it went all 3 games. That game could not have been closer. The team fight occurring with a 6,000 gold lead for SKT. It all felt like it was going the same way that we've experienced so many times in the past.
And look at Deft, right? Deft has had tears after matches before. You can point them out over many teams. They were all tears of sadness after defeats. These are tears of exhaustion, of a goal realized once. They will need to recreate it in greater stakes, most likely to actually become champions, as KT stuck together to do. But they come together as 5, an improved team. And SK Telecom go away with 2 match losses in a row, but also an improved team. So even though the SKT fans will have to take the jabs after losing, not a feeling they've had to feel many times in the Telecom war, they can at least remember that their team looked a hell of a lot better than they have in recent series. But KT are the ones smiling widest on this day.
And they're the ones that get all of the momentum from a victory as well, Papa Smithy. And you have to admit that KT have been a momentum-based team. They are a team full of, honestly, massive, massive egos. And have a look at that gosh darn damage, my friend. Deft and Pawn playing this one out extraordinarily well, but these are players that need to get victories to play to their full potential. They need to be feeling confident, and now they will be.
Absolutely. Huge damage numbers. It seemed unlikely where the game was. It felt like we were about to close it out. 2-1 SKT before Pawn over the wall. Got the triple kill. Then one team fight ended up deciding it all, as it often does in this 40-plus minute team fight meta. Real barn burner here between KT Rolster and SK Telecom T1. So excited to see who does pick up the MVP here. That man I mentioned might be the one, and it will be Pawn, his second MVP. 91%, also presence of mind and alacrity on the Azir. He had a horror laning phase. Faker made him look like a chump, but by the end, he was the one smiling. He was the one that was able to pick up the victory, and he picks up his second MVP of the season.
Joins his ex-EDG partner as well in Deft up there towards the top, so KT Rolster really getting themselves known up there, and these are some of the plays that almost worked out so incredibly well for KT. They did manage to turn this one around in the end.
This one didn't look good with Smeb happy feeding.
Yeah, this is one of the sort of situations where Pawn didn't necessarily figure it out.
I mean, there was 2 fights in this game where you watch the first half of the clip and you're like, this is where SKT wipes the team. There's this one and the one around their base that looked at the start so strong for the side of SKT. But this time, Deft turns it around, realizing that that's a lot of low health members. Blank couldn't dodge out.
From Blank as well.
Yep. Had the mana pot going beforehand, the blue buff pushing him up as well. Faker walks up, trying to buy time for his teammates, but also has taken down the stickiness of the Jax. One of the reasons why it's been selected. Faker goes down here after much aplomb. It was golden, but not the gold he was looking for. Then this team fight, which again at the start, you're like, yep, SK Telecom, this is game-winning fight. Yep. Waiting for the nice music to be playing from OGN and celebrating as SKT. The start was so strong. They wanted to cement the kills. You see the Cataclysm come down, but Pawn is not kited out of damage for the first time with Void Staff and also the Needle Large Rod. He does unbelievable damage in this fight, not in threat range. Sort of VOD review that Koma will look at and shake his head because it was so close to being the perfect play from SKT. And then SKT, they had the initiation. Faker comes in. The amount of damage to Deft was insane in the first rotation. He goes golden. But the turnaround happens again. They turn it around again. Faker can do nothing on the back end, had nothing available in order to disengage. They pick up a second kill over the extension of this, and KT Rolster in 2018 will not have to deal with the sins of the past. They will be able to start with a match victory over SKT.
Even in the start of that particular Abyssal Voyage looked like it could have been a problem, but guys, we are going to go to an interview with both of those players that I highlighted before, the men that did so much damage in that last game. Let's send it over to Joel for some translation.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Joel with your last translation of the day. We would not have seen this team in the interview once we reminded ourselves back when we saw these particular series before, but it is today that KT Rolster does pick out a win against SK Telecom. And we'll talk to the MVPs of the series with Deft and Mata. Deft, your eyes are still red and quite moist, to be said. And we knew that your expressions are usually pretty static and not much change goes on, but definitely emotions were shown by you today. You know, we faced many defeats against these guys, and it definitely seemed to a point where maybe that was our limit and maybe that was our team's limit. At one point I did think that, but definitely we overcame that today. And many people did criticize on very visible weaknesses of KT roster, but after this season started, the split started, everything is going right for you guys. I think last year the biggest problem was that the mid laner and also the ADC, the people you see in front of you guys right now, couldn't put in the damage, and they were the primary source of damage, supposed to be, but definitely didn't serve our roles very well last year, and I think our more focus during the team fights really did help out. And of course, SKT might be one of your most important opponents in LCK as soon as this team was formed. Yeah, I think if we just go to the matches today, a lot of the bans were through the mid lane, and it was really focused around that lane as well, but it was important that we stayed focused on both of the teams. And a lot of people did go back and forth on the criticism of the KT bot lane, but today was the good day, and you guys showed it up down in the bot lane with you and Mata. I mean, with all the banned champions, they did their pre-studies, and those are the champions that we were very, very confident at. And after having some of those limits to our champion pool, we had to go for those alternatives, and that's what we went with. And it seems like, you know, the auto attack based ADCs seems to be the trend. Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about Jinx a little bit, since it's also a auto attack based ADC, and before this patch does apply, I want to have a chance to hopefully play it one day. So first at MVP is Deft. We'll have a highlight to see some of his endeavors and how he got the MVP here. And it seemed like the mid laner wanted to open it up for the bot lane, but definitely didn't feel so. Yeah, I think we just told each other that we were definitely not going to lose this 3v2, and we were confident in our fights, and we didn't really need to back out at any point of that. And of course, you did lose out the second set. But the third game was the most significant one, where every team fight did serve a purpose, and it really gave a lot of power over to each team, depending on the result of those team fights. Would you want to elaborate on those team fights? Well, I mean, let's go back to the second game a little bit, because I think it was definitely my fault for the most of the part that we lost the second game. And I, went back with the Azir after being defeated by it, and I knew that it was stronger against Vladimir, and I didn't need to lose any confidence over that matchup. And after some considerations, Smed was telling me that laning isn't not that important, and it was all about the team fights, and so I tried to focus a little more on that part, and it did help out. Yeah, they were definitely very disappointing moments in that game 3 as well as to pick it up and recover from it. I mean, Vladimir is really just a one-rotation champion. If it doesn't get the job done in one rotation, we knew that we can have a better chance on the second rotation to get the counter damage and really win the team fight, and that's what we counted on, and we did a good job with that. This was that one he was talking about. I'm sure you guys told each other to just run away. Yeah, we definitely were trying to focus on surviving with the ADC and the mid laner, because I think if we survive that first round, it gives us a lot much better, and the opponent team doesn't have much damage to output after that one. And I'm sure you guys, yeah, since they had nothing else to hit with after that, we can counter back with much more confidence. I don't know, as an ADC, you must have been very, very scared when Faker rushed in with the Vladimir like that from behind. And of course, we did see very good counterattacks regarding that play. Yeah, I think our top one priority for today's games was to keep the members alive, and we knew what to do right after that. So succeeding that first part gave us a lot of victories that we needed in team fights. And today is actually a memorable day where KT Score played his 400th LCK game, and did you know about this? I don't think even he knows. Definitely giving a good gift over to Score essentially by giving him a good win over SK Telecom. Anything you'd like to say to Score? It's only been about a year since the mid-jungle chemistry has been forming. And we will always tell each other that we will never lose against any other mid-jungle combo in LCK, and I think we're doing a good job, and really congratulate you for your 400th game. Anything you like to eat after the game, Deft? I think we decided on beef today. How'd you decide on that? How'd you hear it? Yeah, before the match, we decided on beef if we win, and decided on going back home if we lost. So definitely a conditional one on that one. And you do have a lot of fans out here and also watching from the stream and from television, cheering you on. Anything you'd like to say to them? It's really cold right now in Korea, and it has been for a while, so we thank you still for coming out and supporting us. But defeating SK Telecom was definitely something, was on our milestones, something that really we made it an objective coming into 2018. But we want to continue beating them and continue beating everybody else so that we can be the top team, and we just ask you to continue to support our team. Definitely that will be the interview with today's winners, surprisingly being KT Roster this time around. And we had our interview with Deft and Deft and Pawn, and we'll return it back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel. I understand why you'd say Deft and Mata. They've been together for so incredibly long, but it was, of course, Deft and Pawn, and those are going to be your results. So KT, blue side victories. You have to remember, blue side really, really strong at the moment, but still being able to grab that win over SK Telecom has been a milestone they've been looking for the last year, since the inception of this iteration of KT.
Yeah, KT have been grasping for greatness, and only a Kesper Cup to show in their war chest for this strong roster. They've been grasping at SK Telecom in so many ways, boxing with shadows, but today means a lot. They hope this represents the start of something great for KT in 2018 and want to put some indifferent performances in Week 1 aside. We don't know what it represents. We're still only in Week 2 of the year. A lot of League of Legends to be played. Doesn't mean that KT jumps up to second place, game score ahead of the impressive Jin Air Green Wings, who won earlier today. SK Telecom will not stay at 9th for long, but for now, 1 and 2. They don't have an easier schedule, Atlas. SKT, after this loss, have to play Kingzone on Friday, after Kingzone played themselves into form, so it doesn't get any easier for SK Telecom T1.
And Kingzone made it look easy against Afrika earlier on as well, so that'll be very, very scary. Of course, coming up next will be Rox versus Kongdu Monster.
And then a big one.
Yeah, KSV versus Afrika Freaks. And Afrika Freaks, if they lose this one as well, that's getting to too many L's in the streak. They're going to be really happy that they were able to take down KT. Otherwise, this would have been a massive loss streak for them.
There's so many contenders here that keep getting strength of schedule just battered over their head again and again with tough matchups. Afrika looked like second-class citizens, you'd have to say, against the side of KSV. Sorry, against the side of Kingzone, I should say. The Kingzone game will be on Friday, but our next OGN match day after tomorrow will be on Saturday. KSV's versus Kongdu Monster and Rox Tigers versus Afrika. I think the last match will definitely be different depending on how that previous matchup goes.
Of course, for both of these teams as well. I mean, Rox actually showing themselves to have form against 2 teams in a row now, being able to take the game off SKT and then taking the game off BBQ as well. So much to look forward to here in the LCK.
And we got 6 days, right?
Yeah, exactly. 6 days in a row. You guys can stay around and watch as much League of Legends as you want, but we're not going to be sticking around tonight. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow.
Just that you're able, you just might fly.